I'm live. Hello, internet. What's up, everybody? Oh man, going live is always so strange. Let me adjust some things here. Um, cool. Yeah. Wow. We're back for another AMA episode. I have another pile of questions. I know I didn't even get through most of them from last AMA, and there's a bunch more that I received in the meantime. So I already have a feeling we're going to have an AMA number 3 uh, probably after this next video comes out, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So anyway, thank you for coming, either participating now, watching live, or if you hop on later on and see this. My name is Joe Grand, and I'm here to answer questions. I'm a hardware hacker and engineer, and there's already some great questions in the chat. So I know last time I went through a lot of them on paper and I missed a lot of them in the chat. So I'm going to try to read more of the chat this time. But if I do miss your questions, don't keep spamming them. I will look through the chat afterwards and add your questions to the list for next time. So just in case you were here last time, I did read through the entire chat and it was awesome to kind of see some of those questions and see people that I actually hadn't seen in a long time too. There was somebody in there who I had actually gotten in trouble with when I was 15 years old, and that person will remain nameless, but it was really cool to see him. So yeah, I want to thank again everybody for coming and listening and spending a Saturday at some time of the day with me, whether it's morning or afternoon or evening or whatever. Just super cool. I appreciate that people even want to listen to this and have cool chat in the meantime. I guess a couple rules for the chat. It sort of goes without saying, right? But just be nice to each other. I think I have a bunch of words already blocked. So let's just have good conversation, good questions about hacking and engineering, and that's it. So if you are just joining or you happen to see this later on, if you're interested in hardware hacking or electronics, check my back catalog of videos. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube that I've made. Most of it is like holding, my phone and explaining some project. But there's a couple like really good high quality videos, like the wallet hacking video from I think January 12th. It came out January 24th or something like that. And then March 12th was the last AMA. So if you want some background knowledge on, getting started in hacking and kind of basic stuff like that, that first AMA goes into a lot of that. Also, I did notice too, I know a lot of people have commented on YouTube. A lot of people have commented on YouTube. We had like 11,000 comments and somebody emailed me and said, like half of those are spam. Because I don't actually look at comments, which I'll explain in a second. So I ran this tool called YT Spammer Purge, made by Theo Joe, which is amazing. And it's surprising that YouTube doesn't actually have this functionality on their own to get rid of spam and scam comments, but maybe they want those there for some reason. I don't know. But I blasted away like 5,000 spam comments. So amazing tool. And that kind of made the comments a little bit friendlier. But I did have to see a bunch of the stuff that's been blocked. And there's just, there's not enough time in a day and not enough energy. I don't have enough energy to handle all of the annoying questions and mean questions and hateful comments and things like that, even though I know there's some really good ones. So I appreciate all of you who have posted comments. Some of my friends will read them and moderators of this chat will read them and pick out some of them. But I want you to know that, I appreciate you posting them and having conversations. If I don't respond, that's why, because I'm not looking at them. And that's why I'm holding these AMAs, because I just can't, for my mental health, I can't look through all of those comments. The internet, and I mentioned this last time, like the internet has a lot of great people, but mostly it's just not great people. Anyway, so if you do have questions or you commented on Twitter or YouTube and I didn't respond to you, send me email or post it in the chat here and we can talk about it, right? So I've just realized that, don't read the comments is a true thing, unfortunately, because, I would love to answer every single question on every comment. I just can't. So anyway, yeah, that's why we're doing these. This video is available later in case we miss something. So the chat is being saved. So, like everything on the internet, it's here forever. So whatever you write in the chat is going to be there. yes, you could always, come back later and revisit some of this stuff. Let's see. Oh, here's one already. How can we bypass blocked words? Great question. I assume that those filters are there for a reason, and blocking words are there for a reason, and they are, because I've seen some of the comments that people posted on the video on my wallet hacking video that had some of those blocked words in there, and there's a reason that they're there. And yeah, so I don't know. I think if you end up bypassing the blocked words, you're just going to end up seeing a bunch of crappy comments from hateful people. It's not really worth it anyway. So it's not like they would be here having a conversation, right? It's like they just kind of say mean things and go away. Okay, so hi from Slovakia. Hi, Brazil, Colombia, New Zealand, France, Taiwan, Switzerland. I love it. Last time also, it's like this global community of people. It's really amazing. So yeah, thank you. Hi from Virginia, far away Virginia. Yeah, this is super cool. So I already see a bunch of questions about electronics and hacking and stuff. Italy, India, amazing. That's what I love about. I say this all the time, but that's what I love about hacking and the community is it is a global effort, right? And like people love technology wherever you are. It's what is it? The internet is the global village, except there's just a lot of jerks in it also. Okay, so let me give you some updates before we get into questions. So since March, we've been hacking a lot of wallets. So when our Trezor wallet hacking video came out, we got hundreds and hundreds of emails, and that's why I decided to do the first AMA. So we've done a bunch of wallet hacking. Some of it we've recorded, some of it we haven't. But I just got back from Seattle, and I teased a little picture of it on Twitter. If you go to @JoeGrand, you'll see a picture of my hotel room, which was an actual hotel room setup where I was doing some hardware hacking up there. We filmed a wallet hack. It was amazing, and that's going to be the next video. So it currently is being edited by our fearless camera person and director and editor, Freddie McDonald, who is one of the moderators, who is going to be the future of filmmaking. So you can say that you saw some of his videos before he became huge and famous and forgets about all of us. So yeah, that video, it's going to be epic. It's just everything about it is different. The problems that we faced and what we go into, and we are hacking the wallet and the storytelling, and it's just, yeah. So tell your friends, tell everybody. That should come out in the next, I don't know, few months or something like that. But that's going to be, yeah, real tear jerker for a number of reasons. It's awesome. Another thing too, let's see. Oh yeah, social media, talking about people being mean and annoying. There are a lot of scammers and a lot of impersonators. So if you're trying to get in touch with me, either through the AMA, because then it's actually me, you can email me. contact@grandideastudio.com is a new email address I put together just because I can be out in the wild and people can email that. You can go to my website, grandideastudio.com, or offspec.io, which is the cryptocurrency kind of wallet hacking stuff. Contact us through there. That's it. My DMs are not open on Twitter, again, because it's just too much to deal with. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Facebook. There are a lot of scammers, and so many people have contacted people who are pretending to be me on these platforms, and then me says, hey, give me money and I'll help you with your problem. And then they send the money. So the scamming is a huge problem. So just beware and, verify that you're actually talking to me through an official channel, and just don't send money to anybody in advance ever. And don't send your recovery seed for cryptocurrency ever. I'm not a hard person to get in touch with. That's kind of on purpose. I want people to be able to, get in touch with me, but I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on those channels. So not on WhatsApp. Yeah, so just beware. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. So maybe the reason why most of you are here is I am giving away a seat in my hardware hacking class that is in June. So just a couple weeks at hardware.io in Santa Clara. We're doing that at the end. So you have to sit through all of the questions before we actually do it. And what we'll end up doing is just taking everybody's name who wants to, who's available to come. I'll just throw it into a spreadsheet so I know how many entries there are, and then I'm just going to run the jot command on my Mac for a random number. and we'll just choose a person. I wanted to like print out pieces of paper and do it in a hat because then everybody would believe that it's real. But I couldn't figure out how to actually do that properly. So yeah, that's one of the events, hardware.io, HARDWEAR.io, like wearing clothes, run by a friend of mine, more hardware security, embedded security focused conference, kind of community run, really great talks. So I'm excited to go and actually see some talks in person. And it's one of the few times that I'm actually doing a public training. I try to do a couple of public trainings a year, at least one public training a year. The problem is it's generally through a conference, which costs money, right? So corporations can pay, but people can't. So somebody in the chat last time at the AMA was like, hey, you should give away a free seat. And normally I can't because these conferences don't allow it. But Ontrix at hardware.io was like, yeah, let's give away a seat and, talk about the conference. So he was gracious enough to do that. So if you're in California, or if you're available to get to California on, I think it's June 6th and 7th and 8th. It's actually my normal 2-day hardware hacking class plus an extra bonus day of some other exercises and stuff. So yeah, if you're available, that then you can enter at the end, and we'll see how that goes. See if we can pull it off. I'll also be at Black Hat in Vegas teaching there. I will be at DEF CON. Somebody had asked that last time. I missed it, and I'll be at DEF CON. I'm not doing anything other than just participating. So it's going to be nice to just hang out, walk around, see what's going on, and not be stressed by doing badges or talks or whatever. So that's kind of fun to do. Let's see. Will the talks be available online? Yeah, so hardware.io, I don't know if they are live streaming at right away, but they do tend to put the talks online. Yeah, so if you've missed something, you can always do that. How much were you paid for the hardware wallet? People ask that all the time. We'll just say it was worth the effort. It's like I'm an independent engineer / hacker. I got to make a living, but that's not the end goal. So yeah, it was worth it. And a great learning experience too. So I didn't really talk about the wallet hacking last time, and I'll get into it in a little bit, but to really learn the intricacies of fault injection and like this advanced hardware hacking technique was awesome, like to really experiment with it and learn. And now, once I know that technique, it's like everything I look at, I want to try to inject faults into, where it used to be hard, but then one came out with the chip whisperer, and there's other devices as well, but that one, to me, with having all of the training resources that he has online and the sample scripts and the hardware that you can use to test different types of devices, but using an advanced technique like that is just really kind of eye-opening. And like I always mention, it's like, no matter how long you've been doing this stuff, it always feels like magic. There's always something to learn. If anybody says they've learned it all, they're lying, right? Like there's always something. So that really kind of rejuvenated my excitement for hacking, of doing that project. Oh boy, I'm already so far behind with these stuff. Please upload more regularly. I know, sorry. So my video production, my kids watch YouTube, and there's people that are releasing videos every day or every week, and it's hard because like I'm doing other stuff, I'm working. But I'm trying to. And now that we did the wallet hacking video, we're doing this next video that's coming out soon. It's still gonna be, not like monthly or something, but we just want to get good stories and good quality stuff. So we're trying to do more. Yeah, for sure. And stay tuned. Oh, I'm also supposed to say, my kids told me this also. They're the YouTubers. I'm just starting this. This is only my second live stream. And apologies for like the dark setting. I don't have a fancy microphone and lighting and all of that. Maybe I will in the future. Background music. Maybe I'll do that later. But yeah, they say, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Joe Grand, on YouTube. And I'm now verified, thanks to all of you. And I did mount the that plaque, which is like there. Just put that on the wall. 100,000 subscribers. So thank you. But yeah, click on the subscribe button, and then you're supposed to also click on the bell. So when we do a live stream or when we do a video, you will you'll be notified. Can't wait for the merch, Raul. Yeah. I've always been thinking about merch. Like back in the day, I had a charity called Kingpin Empire. Kingpin being my old hacker name. And I'd made t-shirts and sold them at DEF CON and donated to various organizations, Electronic Frontier Foundation, ACLU, things to protect digital rights and stuff like that. But then I ran out of shirts and never really did it. So yeah, we might do some merch. I think it would be cool to do like a couple shirts, like a pocket protector, maybe some branded chip whisperer or branded like Sager J-Link device, tools that I actually use, because I don't want stuff that I'm not actually going to use. But that would be cool. Maybe like branded. So I had my regular Club Mate last time. Now I have the Club Mate Cola version. So I would love to get like a, Joe Grand hacker tonic or something like that. I don't know. But this is like, the hacker drink of choice. So yeah, merch will come. Yes, you want to stop by? I can't stay. Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming. This is wow, this is amazing. The man is the kingpin in the hacking industry. Here, okay, I'm gonna do some easy ones. Let's see. What's the helmet in the background? Oh, this one over there? Is that the one? The robot head? I'm assuming that's the helmet, or is there another helmet too? Actually, I have another helmet too. I'll get that. So that robot head was the head of, funny you asked that, was the head of a giant boxing robot, which was one of the builds that we did on Prototype This, which I mentioned last time. This was a TV show I was on Discovery Channel, 2007, 2008, now available on the internet and wherever you pirate your favorite TV shows and movies. This was 4 engineers building prototypes of crazy things. So that was the head of one of these 10-foot giant boxing robots that would pound each other and be controlled remotely from outside of the ring. Oh, Drew's here. Hey, thank you. Good seeing you. Great show. That's right. Yeah, actually, I had one of these in. This was in a vending machine in Control H, which is a hacker space here in Portland. And Drew, didn't you buy that for $5 and then like sold it or something like that? Hack the planet. Can you do that? Yeah. Oh, here's one. Okay, why didn't you use the JTagulator on the wallet hack? So the JTagulator is a device that I created. It's an open source hardware hacking tool. I don't have one with me, but it lets you connect up to 24 unknown test points or a connector on a circuit board and helps you identify, is there a JTAG interface, like a debug interface, a UART interface, an ARM SWD interface, just to make it a little bit easier when you're encountering an unknown board and you don't want to trace everything out to try to figure it out. The JTagulator lets you do that. It is fully open source. So if you don't like the price, because I don't manufacture them myself, I have Parallax do it, who long time friend of mine runs that company, and they do great electronics and robotics, mostly for hobbyists, but and educational. But they sell the JTagulator, which uses a propeller processor, which is a custom chip that they made. And especially with the part shortages, like it's really hard to manufacture things at all. But you could always build your own if you want to. And so why didn't I use that on the wallet hack? So on the Trezor wallet hack, the Trezor device uses an STM32 F103, the general purpose microcontroller. The security of that chip has 3 levels. One of them is RDP2, which is completely locked, no visibility into the debug interface at all. RDP1, which is you can access the debug interface, but you can only extract RAM. Like you can't step through the code, you can't view flash memory or anything like that. And then RDP0, which is open and you can use the debug interface for debugging. So because the chip was set to RDP2, even though I knew the debug interface by looking in the schematic and it told me what it was, the JTagulator wouldn't have detected it because RDP2 basically makes those pins unused. So the interface is just disabled and completely invisible. The only reason it would come in handy is after you've done the fault injection to downgrade from RDP2 to RDP1, then you could use the JTagulator. So it wasn't useful for that. For this recent project that I did that we are now editing the video for, the Epic one, I did use the JTagulator to verify some of my connections early on to make sure I could have JTAG access to this particular device. So it is useful in certain situations, but not going to be useful for everything. Okay, so let's see. I am going to get to some of your other questions too. There are so many of them. I love it. Thank you, thank you. So there is one question that I know a lot of people ask this all. There's actually a couple that people ask all the time. One of them is, how does it feel to be a hacker? How do people who know what you can do look at you? Do they see a tech wizard or a villain? That's kind of a packed question. But to me, being a hacker is all I've ever known and all I've ever done. So it's a natural thing of like curiosity of what's going on around me, and kind of being able to manipulate devices or learn something new. And it's to me, it's just how everybody should be, but it's not, obviously. How do people who know what I do, besides doing these AMAs, like I'm not, and giving talks and stuff where I'm kind of public, I'm not a very public person. And, I tell people like, I don't really socialize that much. And everyone's like, what do you mean? Like, I don't go to parties. I never did. I would use my computer. It just happened that sometimes I'm on screen making a video or giving a talk or something. Most people don't know what I do, but when they find out, like sometimes if, somebody asks me what I do, if I don't want to have a conversation about it, I just say I'm an engineer. And then they're like, oh, okay. Or like I use computers, and they're like, okay. But then sometimes I say, oh, I'm a hacker. And they go, oh, isn't that illegal? Like blah, blah, blah. And even when I first met my wife, ages ago now, she had said the same thing, like, isn't it illegal? And it's like, no, hacking can be illegal, just like anything else you could use for good or you can use for evil. So sometimes I explain what I do, and it's like, I'm a good guy, and I find security problems and I help people. Yeah, so I don't know. Sometimes they see a tech wizard, sometimes they see a villain. It just depends on, that's the questions words. I didn't make that up. Tech wizard. How would you respond if your kids told you they wanted to become hackers? Whatever they're comfortable with. I've always told them, they're now 13 and 10, and I've always told them that as long as you find something you're passionate about and you love doing it, that's what matters. So if they want to be a hacker because they're fascinated about technology and exploring and programming and controlling computers or whatever the reason, then that's great. If they want to do it to, rip people off and do ransomware and all this stuff, like I probably would not be that proud or that accepting of it. But at the same time, it's like, who am I to judge, based on what I've done? My credit card gets ripped off all the time. It's like karma. We're going to support our kids no matter what they choose. And if it happens to be hacking, great, because at least, we can introduce them to lots of hackers and give them the good hackers, right? And give them kind of this good, kind of mentorship or leadership or inspiration or whatever. But yeah, whatever they choose, as long as they're passionate about it and they believe in what they're doing and they're not harming people, that, to me is great. And then this one too, and then I'll get into some of your questions. What's a hacker's day look like? Walk us through a typical day in the life of Kingpin. You may not want to know this now that you've asked. Let's see. So my normal day, give or take, is I'll wake up. Depending on the day, I'll bring one of my kids to school. I will meditate. And that's kind of a new thing within the past year. I may have mentioned this in the other AMA as well. So it's not, it's not like a you might think like foo-foo new age something, but it is sort of like weightlifting for your brain. And it's something my mind has always been going, a million miles a minute. And I just, it's just very hard to keep track of what's going on. And there's a lot of baggage that I had for various reasons, and, angry about a lot of things that had happened in my past. And when I ended up over COVID, I ended up breaking my foot. So I really couldn't do anything. I could use my computer and sit around. So I was like, okay, well, this is a good time to start doing meditation. I was going to start going to therapy, but then COVID hit, so I couldn't. And meditation, I knew that I should start it. I heard great things about it. I'd actually done like a running retreat years ago to learn also about meditation. So yeah, wake up, do some meditation. And depending on my mood, it's going to be a different type of meditation. I use an app called Insight Timer, and it's free you can do, a number of things for free. And then I just pay the yearly subscription, because then you can like pause and have playlists and all these things. But it's literally changed my life. And it's changed my outlook, and it's changed my perspective, and it's made me grateful, and just totally reversed a lot of things. And, it's a constant thing. They call it just like, yoga practice or music practice, or this is like meditation practice. Like it's a constant thing. But it really has been life-changing. So yeah, do some meditation, usually have something to eat, work out, either running or biking. I will start swimming now that the weather is getting nice. And then sometimes get dressed, sometimes not, come into the lab and deal with emails. And then whatever projects I'm working on, just get into it. Like I can't multitask. So if I have mail going or if I'm looking at Twitter, like I can't do anything else. So I shut everything off and then work on the thing that I'm working on. Right now it's been a lot of wallet hacking. So like over here, I have a laptop that's doing some analysis of a drive that I had forensically imaged. So looking for cryptocurrency wallets on that. Back there, I have over there, I have some motherboards that I need to extract some things from. So it sort of depends, and I'll do work for a couple hours. I'll go inside, have lunch with one of my kids, come back and work some more. And then when I get tired or annoyed, I stop. And then if I'm not here, if I'm traveling, I'll teach. Most of the time when I'm traveling, I'm teaching my classes. So that's just full on, 8-10 hours a day, focused on whoever I'm teaching with. And yeah, I mean, that's it. Like the exercise and the meditation are kind of my outlets. I was a kid when I got in trouble. That was kind of the thing of my parents were like, you got to do a sport or get a job. And so I chose running track because I had some friends on the team and I was by no means a runner. I just wanted to hang out with them and turned into a runner. But having a balance, I think is really important. Which laptop do you use? So this one I just got for doing some password cracking and some of this forensic stuff. It's a Razer gaming laptop. Razer Blade 15-inch base model, and it's Windows 10. And I hate dealing with Windows, but a lot of the engineering tools, a lot of the forensic tools run on Windows. And I have Windows subsystem for Linux, and I have Ubuntu on there, and I have my VMs for the Mac, so I use my Mac mostly. But yeah, someone said I remember boy Ben from Prototype This. Yeah, so the final episode of Prototype This, which was the Robo Dog Sitter. My oldest son was born on that episode, which is crazy. So he is now 13 and he was in the wallet hacking video, which was a year ago. And time flies for sure. Can you not run the tools in the VM? So some of the engineering tools I can. So usually if I'm doing like circuit board development or something, I have VMware Fusion on my Mac and I run some of the tools there. I have Ubuntu on as a VM, so I run some of the Linux-based tools there if I can't compile them on my Mac. But there's some tools that won't run in a VM. Like it will actually say, "I've detected that you're in a VM. I can't run," and that's usually like mobile phone hacking types of devices. So JTAG interfaces, things like the Riftbox or Octoplus. I ran into that, and that's why I had to get another laptop. Also, because it was just nice to offload some things. Yeah, so the VM, I was surprised. The VM doesn't work for everything. So yeah, pretty surprising to me. Okay, what previous knowledge do you need to enter for the class giveaway? Okay, so my classes, so the 2-day class that I teach publicly, you don't need any knowledge. You don't need any background knowledge. I mean, the fact that you're in the chat already, you qualify. We start at a base level of going through, kind of electronics. And the concept really is to throw a lot of stuff at you and then go into hands-on with some of the critical elements. So, reverse engineering a circuit board, figuring out what components do what, using some analysis tools, using a logic analyzer to monitor traces, a device programmer, things like that. So yeah, you don't need any knowledge. You just have to be here and sit through until the end, until we actually do the thing. So I'm definitely not going to get through all of this stuff. This is great. Okay, I'm going to scroll up to the top just to see if I missed anything. So I'll try to go through some of these quickly. Random had said, is going into electronics engineering solely to get into hardware hacking a good idea? I think it's a great idea. One of the things that you don't see that a lot, right? So I come from an engineering background. So I did go to school for computer engineering, got my bachelor's of science degree in engineering. And at that point I was mostly self-taught. But I wanted to still get the formal education. After that, I did end up working as a professional design engineer at a company called Design Continuum in Massachusetts, which does product development. So a lot of mechanical engineering, industrial design, and I was one of the 2 electrical engineers. But they've created some amazing types of technologies, and that's where I learned all of the constraints and the challenge designing products. So production, manufacturing, and design issues. So if you go into engineering to get into hardware hacking, understanding how engineers have to manufacture products and how they have to design products gives you a huge advantage when you're hacking on something, because now you can reverse engineer something and say, okay, I know that they had to put in these features or lay out the board in this way or put test points here because they had to manufacture it properly. Where a lot of people getting into maybe hardware hacking who don't have that background might recognize the pieces on the board, but don't understand or recognize the thought process or the reasoning of why that stuff is there. So yeah, I mean, I would say for sure, if you want to go through it like an electronics engineering program and then get into hacking, like it's going to give you a leg up. If there was one thing you could teach someone about hacking, what would it be? Be persistent and be okay to fail. Failure is something we don't really see a lot of people talk about. A lot of presentations are like, yeah, I ran this tool and did this and hacked this. And it's like the things that don't work are how you can actually learn from it. And it's hard, right? Because failing's hard. And then you kind of feel like a reject and it's like, I don't deserve to be doing this. And yes, I have imposter syndrome all the time. So I think it's not even a technical skill. It's more of just that mental skill, right? Of like, it's okay to fail, try new things and fail. And even to this day, I make mistakes, and whether it's with a personal choice of going into a project or whether it's a mistake of some engineering thing, like you just have to be okay with that, because that's how you end up succeeding, right? It's like trying things, and if it doesn't work, like take a shower, go for a run, like step away from your stuff, and come back to it, and that's maybe what when you'll solve the problem. So I think that balance, right, of like persevering and it's okay, and you just keep trying over and over again, and don't let what you see on the internet dissuade you. Let's see. At what age did you start working with computers? Yeah, this is a common question too. So it's actually so common that I printed out a picture. So I started with computers in 1982 when I was 7 years old on an Atari 400, which is a 6502 based computer. Had that for basically from 7 years old to probably 13 years old. And then I went to an Atari 130 XE, still an 8-bit computer, and then went to an Atari 1040 ST. I was Atari all the way. And then I went to a PC where I could actually build my own PC out of parts. So I did that when I was a teenager, 15, 16. So yeah, I got involved early. And here's the picture of me. This is one I show once in a while. And still kind of looks like me, right? I'm like, but this is a picture that I think my mom just like came into the computer room, which was like this tiny little closet. And we had a door as a table. And I think she just came in and like snapped the picture. So I'm kind of like, huh? But I love this picture because I have on my screen the terminal program. I think it was XE Term. That was a cartridge that actually still runs in the Atari 400, even though it was designed for the Atari XE. So I'm in the terminal program window connected to some bulletin board system. And I don't know what bulletin board system. I've been trying to figure it out. But I was in the middle of either like trading a game or hacking on something, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it was like I spent every waking hour before school. I would go up there, try to connect to a bulletin board system, get some new codes for the day or like start downloading a game. Because I was on a 300 baud, 300 bits per second acoustic coupler modem. Then I went to 1200 baud and 2400 after that. But it would take, hours to download a game. So I would do that, come back from school, go straight up there until nighttime. And it's not a lot different than like, kids nowadays play video games before school. They come home, play video games afterwards. And that's what they do, except I was not just ingesting a video game. I was, actively usually causing mischief in some way. There was a question of do I play video games? Not really. I like classic video games. Atari 2600. NES is kind of where I stop. I'll watch my kids play Fortnite, Minecraft. I do actually want to play Fortnite because it seems kind of fun to shoot things at people virtually. But yeah, I never really could get into games. And I think that was just, again, my mind going all the time. And I'd rather, like, if I was going to spend time on something, I'd rather work on a project or hack on something than play a game. It's just, I can't get into it that much. GTS asked way back, any idea what happened to the Chip Whisperer Pro? It's been fine. Yeah, so from what I understand, the Chip Whisperer Pro has there's some parts that aren't accessible or aren't available right now because of the part shortage. I know Colin is working on the Chip Whisperer Husky, which he just sent me one. I did a little unboxing video on Twitter. You can find it. It's a smaller version, kind of in between the Chip Whisperer Pro that has some additional advantages to the Chip Whisperer Pro, and the Chip Whisperer Lite. So that's the one I think that he's working on now, and that may end up having components that are more accessible. But building stuff right now is crazy. Oh, that's the other thing too. Another project besides the hacking I'm working on. I don't know if any of you guys saw the Pizza Compass video that I made last year, which is on the YouTube channel. I made it for Altium. Oh no, sorry, I made it for Wired. Jeez, Wired magazine was like, "Hey, can you build a project?" And this was during COVID, so this was a device that mostly artistic device, but it had cellular connectivity, and you push a button, and no matter where you are in the world, it tells you where the nearest pizza place is, and you can follow the LEDs to get there. So I'm doing a project for another engineering company that is going to be awesome. I'm super excited about it. Just started sourcing all the parts. Some of that stuff is coming in from Adafruit and DigiKey, and I'm going to start prototyping it. And we've started to film some of that. But talking about part shortages, like I've basically had to design my product around what I can find online, and there's basically nothing. I was able to find a couple of Raspberry Pis for this project somewhere in the and like grabbed 3 of them super fast, and then they went out of stock. Some of the integrated circuits I'm using, I need like a speaker driver, a capacitive touch sensor, and I can't remember what else, a couple other things. But I had to basically buy development boards or modules that use that chip. And then what I need to do is take the chip off the board and then put it onto my product. Like that's how hard it is to get parts right now. It's like the toilet paper problem, but way worse because now there's actually no components. So imagine a world with no toilet paper. And I think people did that for a while. It didn't turn out very well. What was the first thing I hacked? I think, well, technically, I guess the first thing I hacked was figuring out how to make free phone calls. So hacking the telephone system back at a time where you actually pay for phone calls. And I wanted to connect to bulletin board systems outside of my local calling area. And my brother, who's 6 years older than me, was also into collecting games and computers and stuff. So he had written some codes down and a phone number on the back of a floppy disk envelope. So I had worked out that, oh, that's how you make free phone calls. And you call an 800, like a toll-free number. You enter in your 6-digit code, and then you enter the phone number that you want, and it's going to be billed to some corporation. So that was probably the first thing I hacked. And then I ended up, having a war dialer type of tool that would get my own codes that I would run overnight, and then I could use those and trade for other people. So yeah, and it just sort of progressed from there. Somebody had asked me, like, what things can you share that won't get you in trouble? And I think most of the stuff I've done is probably past the YouTube limitations. But yeah, I did a lot of like, juvenile delinquency with computers and connecting to systems I shouldn't. I was never malicious, so I never erased information, but I was into like cellular phone company networks, credit bureaus, what we would call now like SCADA systems, industrial control, elevator control systems, environmental monitoring, like anything. Basically, I would just run my war dialer and try to connect to whatever phone numbers I could. So it really was this exploration. Yeah, man, so many. The Strange Cage. I featured you on your hacking video. Thank you for featuring me. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, the more we spread the word about like what hacking can be used for good, I think is really positive. Especially because the media a lot of times is like evil, state-sponsored actors, countries hacking each other. Which yes, that happens. Like that's completely true. But there's also people like us that enjoy this stuff and like doing it and using our skills to help people. I love you too. Slovakia, let's see. Sorry, now I'm scrolling. Man, there are so many from Oregon. Oh, Divvy Daddy, hey. Yeah. So there is something, if you're into cryptocurrency, Divvy Daddy's here. If you search for, I'm totally going to butcher this. If you search for top 10 cryptocurrency commandments, he put together a nice list of like what not to do and what to do if you're dealing with cryptocurrency. And of course, right now, it's like totally down. So if you're into it, hodl, I guess, I don't know. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know what to say. Just, it's a crazy ride. Let's see. Hi from Greece. Hi from Spain. Hi from Iran. Love it. What's your opinion about quantum computing? Can it be a threat to cryptography or blockchain? I don't know a huge amount about quantum computing, other than it's definitely a research area. I've heard that there are systems that can do some amount of computational power that's really good. Not at the point yet where it's going to threaten any sort of cryptocurrency or cryptography based systems. But I figure that even if that's true, like we're probably not going to hear about it. Like governments are going to be breaking things long before we know they can do it. So we might think that our encrypted communications are safe, or that our cryptocurrency is safe. Yeah, it will take years, probably decades, I don't know, a lifetime to get to that point. But eventually those systems will fail, just like every other security system has failed over time. And things get better, and it's a cat and mouse game. But I think for the time being, we're okay. But I've also heard of some projects that are doing quantum resistant cryptography types of things to try to be a little more resilient to higher processing power types of attacks. I don't know a huge amount about it, but yeah, I mean it's up and coming. How can I figure out which chip is in an RFID card without damaging the card? So the first thing that comes to mind is a tool called Proxmark, is it Proxmark 3 now or something? And there was one, I think, on Crowd Supply made by the Iceman, I think it is. And it's basically, if you get a tool like this, that's a general purpose RFID kind of investigator emulator tool, you might be able to query the RFID card to see if it can identify it through some unique ID or some other identifying information, so you don't have to actually like physically take the thing apart and look into it. But yeah, try to get Proxmark or one of those like RFID emulator systems. You could probably find them on AliExpress and stuff too, but I like to go through legitimate channels and make sure you're actually getting the right stuff. What's your best resource for learning hardware hacking, specifically Bluetooth LE? So yeah, as far as learning hardware hacking, watch the first AMA, go to my website, go to the security section in the portfolio, and there's a lot of presentations about getting into hardware hacking and different things. Colin O'Flynn and Jasper just wrote a book called The Hardware Hacker's Handbook. I should know this because I have it right over there and held it up last time. So that's a really good book. If you want to get into it, you can follow along with their examples. For Bluetooth, I would say check out Mike Ryan. I don't remember what his Twitter name is, but he is like the Bluetooth guy. He's done a lot of stuff with Bluetooth hacking and Bluetooth analysis and stuff. I do know Adafruit sells like a Nordic Semiconductor Bluetooth LE dongle kind of development board that you can use for sniffing also for some analysis. But yeah, Mike Ryan, I think is the person to talk to. Oh, caffeine break. When you hacked the Trezor wallet, how do you know that? Oh, when you hack any wallet, I guess, how do you know that the person is the real owner and didn't just steal it? So great question. So with the wallet hack that I did, that we published, the Trezor one, I got an email from Dan and his friend Jesse, and it was just a well-written email. So right off the bat, I'm like, all right, he seems legitimate. So I'd kind of communicated with him in email a little bit. Have you checked existing resources? Who have you talked to? And all of his answers seemed legit. So we scheduled a FaceTime meeting, and I talked with them and checked them out a little bit online, did some cyber stalking of my own, realized they were legit, and then we signed a contract and went for it. Now through OffSpec.io, which we have a formal company set up now to do wallet hacking with Dan, so with the customer. He's now part of that company, and then we have Fred McDonald, who is one of our moderators and business partner, and I've worked with him for a long time. He does a lot of stuff behind the scenes, handles a lot of the front end kind of customer relationships. We have Freddie, his son, who's doing all of the video type of stuff. We have Larry, who's doing our back end legal and business stuff. So it's a legit company. And now we actually have like a KYC check, like a know your customer sort of thing. And we've gotten a lot of emails where people are like, I have a device, can you help us? And we say, sure, like give us some information, like what's your name, where are you from? And then don't respond anymore. So I'm guessing some percentage of those probably are people who obtained wallets illegitimately, or maybe bought them on the dark web, or bought them, somewhere that they don't know any information about. But I think most people are. Well, I shouldn't really say most people are honest, but I feel like most people are honest, and we can weed out the ones that aren't. pretty well. You know, I would like to hope that we're never going to get screwed, and we're not going to participate in hacking a wallet of something that's been stolen or illegally gathered or something. But we're doing our best to prevent that. We have proper contract in place and all of that as well. Let's see. Oh yeah, somebody mentioned also. So I mentioned I don't read comments, but one of my friends did and said, I don't know where it is. Oh yeah, somebody thought that the wallet hacking video was fake. I can assure you it was not fake. And the reason they say that is like, well, right before the fault injection that happened, when it said hack the planet, they'd said, well, he was smiling before the glitch happened. So first of all, I smile all the time, but that's not why I was smiling. The real reason we were smiling before the glitch is Dan on his phone was showing us like some Simpsons clip of like, I think we were talking about people on the internet or, comment trolls or something like that. So he was playing some video, but we can't show that video as part of our video because we have to license Simpsons stuff and like it didn't play into the story. So we were laughing about that. He had put that away and like literally seconds after he put that away, the glitch hit. So it's funny how people just kind of take one thing and assume that it was fake because of that. Nothing I've ever done on Prototype This, on any video I've done, on any video I'll do in the future has ever been faked. Because I will admit if something doesn't work. And there's no point in faking it because I share as much information as I can or as I'm able to. Yeah, that was not fake. So incorrect assumption. The reason if I read comments for that, I'd be so pissed. Oh boy. Okay. I'm getting there. I'm getting through. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay. This is another common one too. Like, do you have classes available online? Do you have any, are you going to make any classes? Where are those related questions? Somewhere in this massive pile. Yeah. So I don't have virtual classes. Oh yeah. Like, are you going to make online classes? This, that, like all these questions. So, I don't have virtual classes. And I know when COVID hit and everybody went indoors, a lot of people started doing online types of courses. I just could never find a good way to do it because a lot of my all of my exercises are hands-on. And I intersperse that with, lecture and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, how could I do a hands-on course, but still in my style of teaching and everything? I just couldn't figure it out. And I also didn't want to do live virtual because I didn't want to sit here for 8 hours. Like when I'm speaking, I like to move around and I like to engage with people and see how they're doing and help soldering. I just felt like to do that in a way that would be a good class, I just couldn't figure out, like just not my style. And then it's like, how do you teach somebody how to solder? What if they have a problem with their logic analyzer and their remote? Like it could be hard. I would say that Joe Fitzpatrick, his website, his Twitter handle is securely fits. And his website, I think, is securinghardware.com. He has some great online courses, and he's done it in a way that basically he's filmed his modules so you can follow along at your own pace, and he'll send you all the hardware and everything. And then he has office hours that you can go and communicate with him and stuff. And he's still doing these virtual classes. So if you really want to do like virtual classes for hardware hacking, I would contact him for sure. And we've built our courses to kind of be, like work well together. So if you end up taking his stuff and then if you end up going to one of my classes later on, like there's a tiny bit of overlap to kind of get you through all of it. But yeah, I would check out his stuff for sure. All right. What new technologies excite you the most or find most interesting? It's a funny question. I think I mentioned this last time too. Like I'm kind of a technology minimalist and I'm sort of a curmudgeon. A lot of technology I feel like is created just because it can, but not because it actually helps somebody do something, which is really frustrating, right? Because a lot of big corporations are going to create some technology that sucks everybody in and then uses the data for something, right? So Google, who owns YouTube, right? Facebook, Amazon. I mean, all these large companies. So I'm not really sure what excites me. What really excites me is just using existing technology or some piece of technology to solve a problem. Like if there's some new thing. So like, again, when I used the chip whisperer for the first time, that was awesome. And that's not, something that most people think of like, ooh, that's high tech. Like it's really amazing. Even something like a write blocker. Let's see. So I picked up this write blocker that is for, you know, being able to image a hard drive without writing to it. So it blocks write access and then plugs in and shows up as a virtual disk. To me, like that's super cool. And to anybody doing forensic work, you know, this is something that they've used for what, 10 years or something. So it really isn't like the latest technology that excites me. It's technologies that I've never used before that I could use to help solve a problem. Like I just bought a new soldering iron tip that's super, super tiny. And I bought some hair wire that I was using for micro soldering for one of the projects, which I posted a picture of that on Twitter also. Like that's exciting to me, right? So it's not like, you know, it's not the iPhone Pro 13 XR, whatever. Like I have an old phone, but if that phone solved a problem for me, then I would, you know, upgrade. Have you tried? Have I looked into the Flipper Zero? I haven't. I've seen a lot of pictures of the Flipper, and the Flipper, from what I understand, is like a hardware hacking platform to let you do all sorts of different analysis functions and things like that. It looks really cool. I think there's maybe a waiting list on it. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, I need to look into that. Actually, I'm going to write it down because I think that would be fun to have in the toolkit. Where you never know, you know, it's like you never know what kind of tool you're going to need. What was the hardest challenge that you've ever aced in your hardware hacking career? There's a similar question that I wanted to answer, which was, what would you say your biggest hacking success story is? And then what is your biggest failure? So it's funny, like it's not about accomplishing a task. Like it's not about I hacked a parking meter or I hacked a medical device or I hacked a wallet. Like those are cool. But I would say like from a challenge or from a success, like I think the biggest success is being able to have a career in hacking, you know, and that just came from this purely organic love of the hacking, and also trying to not get distracted with the noise of what happens on the internet, being distracted by comments and feedback and stuff, you know, just focusing on what I love to do, and not getting bogged down with other stuff. But I think that's the biggest hack of all, is like the fact that this turned into a career, that hacking can be a career for any of us. But the fact that I get to teach classes about hardware hacking, share what I love with other people who can then go do great things with it, and do an AMA where I get to talk to people, that's amazing. It's like that is the biggest hack of all. As far as failures, I think, you know, one of my biggest failures is kind of over trusting people. I like to try to see the good side of people and give them the benefit of the doubt of like, okay, they're not going to be jerks. They're not going to rip me off. They're not going to screw me over. They're not going to edit something out of context to make me look a certain way. You know, like I give people the benefit of the doubt because I really think, you know, a lot of times people are genuinely nice. But then I get burned, or I see, you know, other results of that, other results of humanity in the world or online. And it makes me realize like the people that are actually kind and nice are very few. Like you guys here, you know, except for the comments that are getting moderated, which I don't know what those are. But yeah, you know, it's like, I think over trusting and really, because I love sharing and I love helping people. And sometimes that can come back if, you know, if I give out too much information, they go off and do something. Like it's, I think that's the biggest failure, is sort of, and it's unfortunate, right? Like I mentioned, like if everybody was just kind and honest and transparent in what they're doing and their aims, like it would be way better. I studied computer science and software, but if I want to get into computer hardware and reverse engineering, how can anyone get into it? So I get this question a lot about like, how do I get into hacking? How do I get into hardware or electronics? And really it's, if you're going to school for it, you can choose those classes that get into it, but you don't need to. You don't have to go to school for it. You can build your own projects. You can find magazines online. You can find magazines at the store, find projects, build those, explore, experiment. It really is just all about your, you know, driving yourself to find something you're interested in and go for it. I do reference, and I've referenced this before, a website called Exploiteers. So exploit.ee.rs. is a group. I don't know how active they are, but they've given a bunch of DEF CON presentations over the past years. They used to be called the GTV hacking group, Google TV hacking group. But they have a bunch of really good hardware hacks for existing consumer products. So you could go to that website, pick a product, replicate that work, and kind of go from there. Be like, okay, that's cool. I like doing that. I want to try to replicate that. I want to build upon that and do something else. Or you might say, oh, I want to do more firmware reverse engineering and go. But really, it's like anybody can get into this stuff. The mindset, might take a while to sort of understand why things are done a certain way or when you should run certain tools. But yeah, it's just do it and get into it and see if you like it. Do you have any stories where you hacked or got into something where you saw something crazy and just hacked out and shut the door? Let me think about that while I drink. That's really funny. I can imagine that in real life too. It's like, oh, don't look behind that door. There was one project I did that will probably never see the light of day, and there was video recording of it, and I wish I could find that video recording, but I basically was outside with a laptop and a cellular phone modem. So this was in like probably the late 90s or something like that. So having a cell phone at the time was, hard enough. Most people didn't have one anyway. But I was actually cloning cell phones and selling those, which is not recommended. Sorry, Cellular One. But so I had a cloned phone, so I couldn't be traced. And I had this modem attachment, so I could use my small laptop. I think it was a Dell handbook or something, or Gateway 2000 handbook or something like that, small, DOS based. So I had that connected to this cellular modem, and I had connected to the cellular network and could basically access, whatever I wanted. And I just remember, so maybe I'd mentioned this, like I logged in and it asked me for a password and I didn't know the password. And I think I went to like talk to whoever was recording or something. And it was just at the password prompt, come back like a couple minutes later. And it had basically said like timeout, access granted, because the password check had timed out. And instead of failing and going back to the login prompt, it let me into the system. And my jaw dropped when, I basically had access to everybody's cellular account and information for that entire service, which was pretty cool. I didn't do anything with the information, but it was just, you could kind of equate it now to like a massive database breach of like credit card numbers or something like that. Pretty cool. I didn't shut the door, but I was like, oh shit, like I was not expecting to see all of that and have complete control without even having to log in. Like, is that hacking? Is that actually illegal if I didn't even log in? If it just dropped me in there? I don't know. I'm sure the government would say, yes, it's still legal. What's your favorite and lifelong lesson from the days of the Loft? Ooh, yeah. Okay, so a couple of people have asked this. I've mentioned the Loft before, and there's a lot of information about it online. And I've mentioned this in other videos and interviews and stuff, but a couple of people did ask, like, what is the Loft? Are you still in touch with them? And then what is your favorite life lesson from them? So the Loft was a hacker group back in Boston, where I'm from, started in 1992 by a couple Boston area hackers that basically needed a place to store all of their crap, all of their electronic stuff that was in their house. So that was Brian Blue and Count Zero. Hugely inspirational mentors, which I think they now know that because I say it all the time, but they were a lot older than me and ended up kind of taking me in under their wing. But yeah, it just started as this organic kind of space. And there were no other hacker spaces at the time. Now we have hacker spaces and maker spaces. We were really one of the first groups, besides there was like Chaos Computer Club in Europe and a couple of groups there that were more open. Like we were a little more private as a group, but still wanted to share what we were doing. So it started as this organic kind of space to hang out. There were some member changes of things, and it kind of solidified 7 of us hacking on our own projects and hacking on things and showing the good side of what hackers can do, writing advisories, exploits, publicizing those, forcing vendors to fix problems, trying to get on whatever media we could to share our message and spread the message. And we would sell T-shirts and little, a POCSAG pager decoder I had built to sell to make money to pay rent for the space. And we had the Whacked Mac CD archives and just hacker underground kind of stuff, but doing it in a legit way of not breaking the law. Because at that point when I joined, I was 16 and had just been arrested. So then the guys in the loft were like, okay, Joey is done with all of his stupid stuff. Now we can bring him in. So yeah, it really was like a very groundbreaking time between 1992 and 2000 at the loft, and letting people know about hackers, right? We talked about at the beginning. Someone was like, "Is hacking illegal?" And it's like we brought to the forefront what hackers can do. In 1998, we testified in front of the U.S. Senate, which if you search online, you'll find it. The biggest thing that came out of that. Actually, no, I'm going to show you that in a second. So yeah, we were invited to testify, not because we were breaking the law, and not because we were working with the government, but because the government wanted to know what could 7 hackers do. If 7 hackers could do bad things online on this early internet, what could hackers do now? Or what could a malicious nation do? So we went and talked about all these crazy things that could happen. Some of them have happened since then, like when Mudge had mentioned that you could take down the internet. Like that happened when Facebook went down a couple months ago. That was due to the same sort of issue, like something with BGP routing. So yeah, it was kind of fun, and the loft really was, for me, a life-changing experience, because I joined right after I got in trouble. All the other guys were 6 years at least older than me, so they seemed so responsible and had this amazing clubhouse. Even just getting to the place. It was called the Loft, by the way, because it's like a hacker spelling of a loft space, L-O-F-T. Because our first place was in kind of shady, sketchy neighborhood in Boston that was kind of artist warehouses and loft spaces. So we just spelled it the hacker way, L0PHT. And for me, it was just a life-changing experience to be able to have a place to go. The fact that my parents let me go to the loft after getting in trouble was pretty nice, because they knew that I wasn't going to stop hacking or stop using technology. So instead of like saying, no, you can't do it, and I would go and sneak around and do it, they supported me with, responsible people. And they all laugh at that of like, they weren't that responsible, but from my perspective, they were. So it was, so I don't have a single life lesson. It was just the experience of being able to be mentored and have people to look up to and learn from. One of the things I did actually learn from Count Zero mostly is the importance of sharing information. So that's why even doing AMAs like this, I love doing this to try to share what I can. I know I talk forever, but it's like share stuff I can, and maybe not through an AMA, but on my website, I'll post stuff, because hackers, there's a saying like information wants to be free, which sometimes is true. But I feel like it's important to share things. Like we would share stuff all the time back in the day of like, here's a new code to get into a system. What are you going to give me for that code? Give me a credit card number. Okay. What are you going to give me for, I have a voicemail box, which is really good. What are you going to give me? So it was like this information trading, and you'd go to hacker conferences at the time that were like 20, 30 kids, and you would talk about some new technique or some crazy thing. And like that really stuck with me as far as the keeping those roots of like the passion and sharing stuff. It was probably the biggest lesson of the importance of sharing. And also the importance of not having an ego, I think, because I did for a long time. Because of being in the loft of like, yeah, I'm in the loft, like this is so cool. But over time that kind of diminished, and realized like it's just be yourself, right? Like and do what you like to do, be yourself. Some people aren't going to like it, no matter if it's on the computer or not, like whatever that, if you're confident and you're happy with and comfortable with what you do, that's important. So yeah, I basically grew up like those are formative years in the loft. So I grew up in that space. They were kind of, my parents were alive and active. But they, these guys were really my parents, because I was with them so much. And I just learned so much from them. And I have fond memories of like doing road trips from Boston to Maryland to go to like flea markets with Space Rogue. And just, random things like that were just really good personal experiences. And I learned a lot about sharing. I brought all of my equipment that was in my parents' basement over to the loft. So starting to share and have a kind of community space for things. Yeah, it was great. So like I would say, if you have friends that that are into the same stuff as you, like you can start these little clubs and stuff. Like it's not too late. You can still do it. I'm going to grab a picture from the wall. So you can't see it over here, but I want to show, just to finish up talking about the loft. I have two pictures and I'll grab both of them and be right back. So doing this on the live stream. There, it's like dead air on the live stream. What's going to happen? Is anyone going to leave? Okay, so I have two pictures. Eventually, I'll probably like have a setup where I can actually share my screen and do proper live stream stuff, but whatever. This is good enough. So this is one of my favorite pictures where I have hanging up on my wall. I like it so much. This is showing the loft from a magazine called EE Times, which was like, I don't know if it's still around, but it was the Electrical Engineering Times. So basically all about the engineering community and what was going on. So this, they say, they don't, I can't even see it. They don't build products, they tear them apart. And that's why they've become the unofficial vanguard of security, the rise of the underground engineer. And this was just so badass because, yeah, we were hacking, but the person who wrote this article understood that we were kind of reverse engineering a lot of stuff too. And we are this underground, hacker group. But here's so there were 7 of us. So Mudge is in the front, Brian Oblivion, Stefan, Joe Grand, Weld Pond, Tan, and Space Rogue was missing. He couldn't come to the photo shoot. So this was actually the photographer's assistant that we put in there. We thought it'd be funny as like a mystery for people to see it and try to figure out who is that person. But yeah, it's like that was my like trying to look mean phase. But I mentioned why I started meditating. Like that face is why I started meditating. There's a lot going on in here. But yeah, this was the spot. But I just love this is a great representation of what the loft was. Underground engineering, hacking, bringing that to the forefront. Put that one down. And then one of the things that came out of the Senate testimony, which really we talked about a lot of stuff. In the government, there's actually, I saw a comment when I was killing all the other spam comments, and one popped up that I had to exclude from the spam, and it actually said at the Senate testimony, it actually seemed like the senators understood technology, like what we were talking about, compared to current standards of government officials and stuff. And they were right. We had John Glenn, Senator Glenn, who was an astronaut that was now a senator, and he was asking technical questions about can you move a satellite and all of these things. So there was a really interesting conversation that came out of that, and we did a follow-up. I think it was like a 20-year anniversary or something a couple years ago to talk about what has changed since then. And some things have changed and some things haven't. Some things have gotten worse. But the one thing that really stuck, and we made T-shirts about this, and it was funny, but also at the same time, it's like we talked about all these other things, and this is what stuck. Ends up being on a Trivial Pursuit card. So this is from Genus 5, and it says, the yellow one, what did a group of geeks call Loft tell the U.S. Senate they could cripple in 30 minutes? Does anybody know the answer? Do I have to show you? The internet. So that was something where Mudge said, we can take down the internet in 30 minutes. And he was talking about these BGP routing issues, and you can control, whatever these routers are and redirect traffic and take things down. And that was in 98 when we talked about this, where the internet was much smaller. But then again, we saw with Facebook, they had a routing issue, and millions of people freaked out because they didn't have Facebook. So some things have changed, some things haven't. So yeah, hopefully that answers some of the Loft questions. Any open source antivirus software? I have no idea about that. How many years does it take you to learn this knowledge? A lifetime. It's like the thing about hacking, and really about anything, but I think hacking, especially because technology is always changing, is you just want to constantly learn. And every time you learn something new, there's going to be something else. And even, it's like I only focused on hardware because even that is hard enough to keep track of all the new work that's coming out and new techniques and this and that. But the hacker world in general, there's a million different ways you can go. So it's just a constant learning process, and it's going to continue, right? If I stop learning, I'm going to stop hacking because it means I've gotten bored and I'll do something else. But I can't imagine that happening. I did actually, there was a question here about how do you prevent burning out? I did get burned out. designing the DEF CON 27 badge and the DEF CON China 1.0 badge in the same year. I think it was the year before COVID hit. I got super burned out, and I didn't want anything to do with engineering. I didn't want anything to do with technology at all. I had spent 90-hour weeks alone in the lab building stuff, and because they were secret projects, I couldn't really communicate with anybody about it except for like the engineers at these vendors that were helping me. And it was just really depressing. And I had found some devices that I had built in a surplus store, like a product that I had designed in a surplus store. And I'm like, man, I spent so long on that, and now it's like in a box for sale. So yeah, I had kind of burnout / midlife crisis, and didn't really know what to do, and was kind of fumbling around during COVID, and again started meditating, tinkering with projects that I had been doing for a while, doing the pizza compass, and just kind of trying to find my passion again. And then did the wallet hack, and that was like, oh, that's it. It's like being able to use my skills in a way that helps people, and they don't have to be the latest and greatest skills. They just have to be the skills that somebody needs, because our community, maybe knows all this stuff, but to be able to apply it to somebody who doesn't know how to do it, I thought was really powerful. I don't even remember what I was answering about that. Oh yeah, okay. And a collab. I don't know how to say it. My kids say collab. I think collab, whatever. Collaboration with Michael Reeves would be awesome. I would love to do something with him. Michael, you're amazing. He's what I think in my head that I don't say out loud. I love his videos. I love his projects. It would be cool to do something with him of hacking some major or whatever. The beer peeing Boston Dynamics dog, epic. Like so many amazing projects. Yeah, I love his energy. I love that. I would love to do something with him. If anyone knows him, tell him Joe Grand says hi. Do I know how to create a payload? That's a very broad question. I'm assuming payload for some sort of remote code execution or loading something into a device. And yeah, sometimes you create payloads for things, but that's a very specific type of thing. Let's see. Scrolling. So many messages. Keep them coming. Yeah, I'm trying to do some of the ones that you guys are writing before I go back into my massive paper trail. Hello to Kingpin. Ooh, I like that little thing. Oh, okay, let's see. Big hello to Kingpin's kids watching, being proud of their amazing dad, who's an everlasting superstar. Thank you. I didn't even plant that comment. The 90s were awesome, and your dad rocked it like a boss. Not afraid to find his way around stupidity. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the 90s. If you want to get a sense of like kind of maybe an exaggerated sense of the 90s hacker scene, like you got to watch Hackers, the movie Hackers. War Games is my favorite. Sneakers is my second favorite. Hackers still top 3. It's so ridiculous and so over the top, but it's like that was kind of the scene, and just a lot of kids involved, and there's a lot of stupid stuff going on, and I did a lot of stupid stuff, and there's still things online. If you dig deep enough on textfiles.com, there's a lot of old text files and things that I was involved in with other hacker groups using sometimes different hacker names, but like really embarrassing, stupid teenage stuff. And there was a lot to sift through, but that was just the time. It's like kids do stupid stuff now, except now they'll get in trouble for it because it's all over the internet and somebody will take a screenshot and post it, and like they'll never be able to get a job. But it was just, yeah, there's a lot of really crazy things and stupid things going on, and it was a great time. I wish I appreciated it more. Like I think it was, being a teenager is weird anyway, and like even through like my early 20s and stuff, I just never really appreciated what I was doing and what I was involved in and who I got to hang out with and socialize with. And it didn't hit me until I was way older, of how special those times were and how special these times were, like now I can actually appreciate that this is amazing. And seeing this like worldwide global hacker phenomenon is amazing, right? And like we've broken out and people are doing this all over the place. Like it's just so cool. Can you hack the internet so Bitcoin can give me my money back? I was waiting for somebody to ask a question like that. Yeah, and there's been other questions too. People are asked like, are you into cryptocurrency? Are you a what's the term? Are you a Bitcoin maxi? Um, do you have, comments about other coins and what's your opinion and stuff like that? I'm trying to think how to answer that in a way. So yeah, I think cryptocurrency and blockchain stuff, I think the technology is really interesting. I don't think all of the uses for it currently are interesting. I think NFTs are kind of a little bit of a. I'd always thought that NFTs were like the actual data on the blockchain, which would be kind of cool. But I've come to learn like it's links to other things, so you only own a link to something that could be changed, and now they're worthless anyway. So I don't know. I think there's some bits and pieces that we're going to see kind of come out. So maybe like digital art will be a thing. Cryptocurrency, digital currency is definitely going to be a thing. It's just who's going to end up controlling it, right? And I fear that the governments and countries are going to create mandatory digital currencies, and we're not going to be able to use the other ones. And maybe that's good, so people don't get scammed. But it's then it just goes back to the regular financial system. So I don't know. But the technologies are interesting. I'm not a maximalist in any way. Like I barely have any cryptocurrency, mostly because I work for myself and I don't have the stomach to invest in risky behaviors. Like I've never done risky behaviors at all. Just not into it. So, and investing being one of those risky behaviors. So I've watched it and seen things happen. And my wife back in the day in like 2009, 2010, when all my friends were starting to buy Bitcoin, she's like, you should buy Bitcoin. And I'm like, it's like software. How do you even do that? Like it was such a weird, how do you even buy cryptocurrency back in the day? And I was like, I don't want to put my own money into it and, and lose it. But of course I should have, and I probably would have taken money out, but I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not a guru in any of that stuff. I just mostly think it's interesting because people are getting into technology and getting locked out of their devices and stuff, right? So now I can use my hacking skills to help people. Before that, there wasn't as much hacking you could do to help people, I think. Yeah, I mean, seeing it crash, I think it's not an independent financial system yet, right? Everything is kind of tracking, all the coins are tracking with everything else all together. One coin goes down, they all go down. Financial markets go down, they all go down. So maybe eventually it will be independent. And I'm sure all the cypherpunk, cryptocurrency people are like, yeah, you dummy, of course it's gonna, but I don't know. Like I don't have enough insight into it. But eventually it would be nice if it was a completely independent from the regular system. And maybe that we could actually use it as currency one day instead of just as these like kind of long-term subjective sort of investment opportunities or something. But who knows? Yeah, it's interesting. Could you also hack the Trezor wallet with the fix to that vulnerability in your video? Okay, yeah, good question. So one of the biggest feedback that we saw about the wallet hacking video with the Trezor is I was using Trezor firmware version 1.6.0, which was an old version of firmware. What Trezor did end up doing is patching the problem of copying the recovery seed into RAM on PowerUp. That is definitely a firmware issue that they could fix. So then if I tried to do my glitch against that version of firmware or a newer version of firmware, even if I was able to downgrade from RDP2 to RDP1, get access to through the debug interface to read RAM, the contents wouldn't be there. So that fixes that problem. The main problem is at the lower level. The STM32 F104 and a lot of other STM32s are vulnerable to fault injection. End of story. Not only can you use fault injection to enable the debug interface, which is what I did in the attack, you can use fault injection to enable their bootloader interface, which is a secondary interface that through serial, USB, depending on the device, CAN bus, other peripherals, you can use to connect to their, basically like a boot ROM that has this command system of like read memory, write memory, execute things. So kind of a subset of debug. So the problem with all of these chips is even if Trezor solves every hack problem from a software perspective, the underlying base is still insecure, right? So I could still hack the STM32 regardless of what firmware is running on top and exploit the bootloader to get contents out. It's harder, it's riskier, but it's possible. So that comes down to the whole secure hardware design kind of situation of like, you need to have a secure base. You need to have some trusted hardware that can't be messed with before you start building applications on top, which is a ridiculously hard problem. Very, very hard problem. Some chip vendors are starting to get into that more, like ARM Trust Zone and things. And there are some secure chips that are much harder to deal with, like the Ledger has a secure element in it that, as far as I know, hasn't been publicly hacked. So we're starting to see more of that. But it's hard. It's a really hard problem. I mean, secure hardware design is a lifetime career for sure. But if you think about hardware security as the internet, the internet was never designed to be secure, right? It was kind of for communication between universities and government, and then it became more general purpose for more people, and then more people and more people. And then it's like somebody said, hey, we could do electronic commerce. And then we had to start adding security for that. So the internet itself was never secure, but we're still trying to make it secure. And that's why we still have so many vulnerabilities all the time of these things. So same thing with hardware. As far as the Ledger, yeah, there's a lot of other hardware wallets that are out there. I haven't looked at too many of them yet. I'm kind of waiting for the opportunity to need to do that. Ledgers are one that I think are hackable, but I think it's going to require some like chip level reverse engineering. So using somebody that is like really skilled in that area to do that, which there's a handful of like really good chip level hackers in the world. Let's see. Were any of the Loft guys involved in NetBus or Sub 7? Wasn't that later? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. But maybe everybody didn't share everything with everybody else. I did. Like I mentioned, that's one of my failures, right? Like I'm very open, sometimes to a fault. I'm very trusting, sometimes to a fault. Most people aren't like that, right? So they're not necessarily going to share everything. There was another question too, like, am I still in touch with the Loft guys? Occasionally. Space Rogue is probably the most active. He works, I think, at IBM, kind of in a mentorship role, which is really cool. We used to call him Papa Rogue because he was always just like a good father figure, which he would kill me if he heard that nowadays. But yeah, he was such a good guy. So I see him at conferences still. Some of the other guys we talk on email once in a while. We still have a mailing list that, Weld Pond is still around. Chris Weissopel, who started Veracode along with Dill Dog, who was in the Loft later on before we started at Stake. So yeah, there's a bunch of us are still around and active. There's some people that I haven't talked to though that I miss. Brian Oblivion isn't really active. Tan isn't really active that much. Count Zero I hadn't seen in a long time, but we just had it was like an interview for something, and he was there, and it was like amazing to actually see him in person, especially being older, and I could ask him all these questions about the Loft and like, why did they bring me in as a punk 16-year-old kid? Like they didn't need me there, like why did they do that? So yeah, I'm still involved with them once in a while. Somebody else had also asked, going back to Prototype This, am I still in touch with those guys? Sometimes. So Zaz, who is sort of my counterpart on the show. So we had our lair together, where I was doing the hardware and he was doing the software. We see each other pretty much every year at DEF CON and talk all throughout the year. So yeah, he's a great friend, super talented, doing amazing stuff. I just talked to Terry Sandin the other day. So he was the amazing special effects machinist out of LA. Hadn't talked to him in a while. Talked to him. Yeah, I mean, none of us left on bad terms. It was just the show ended and the production company was like, you guys are too expensive, and too hard to work with. Because you have 4, type A personalities all vying for camera time and trying to build products at the same time. But I have such a great time. And then Mike North, I haven't talked to in a while, but I'm sure he's doing, some technology related stuff. Just such an awesome time. That was another experience. Like the Loft was one, and filming that show was just so much fun. And I didn't realize how lucky that was. I didn't really appreciate it until much later, to have a TV show like that, to share engineering. But I mean, just so many great stories of, behind the scenes stuff. And I posted some behind the scenes videos on my YouTube channel, but just so many things. Cause it's like, you're filming, but then when you're not filming for a lot of the day, you're engineering, you're screwing around, you're eating, it's just, so fun. I wish I could do something like that again. Like that was really cool. Maybe that's going to be the collab with Michael Reeves. Can you do any live hacking stuff on stream? That's right. That was a question the other time. So maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe one of these times it won't be an AMA. It will be like a, here's how to hack a something. I feel like that always requires like having the right equipment, because I'm kind of budget, right? Like I don't have the good camera and again the good light and all that. Like maybe I will. My son is like, Daddy, now that you're doing this, you need to have. I'm pointing over here, which is like my kind of wet lab area. I have a little museum set up with some of my favorite things. Maybe I'll show one of those one day. But he's like, you can have your station and your lights and your sound and all this stuff. And it's like, I feel like if I get that stuff set up, it'll be easier to do proper hacking demonstrations and things. And yeah, maybe I'll do that. I'll look into Peter Esden has a Twitch stream. He's in Eugene, Oregon. He runs One Bit Squared? So he has a stream. I think it's called like Electronics Let's Play or something. He has a great setup. Joe Fitzpatrick has a great setup. He doesn't do live streams though. Maybe I should just talk to them and get some camera tips and stuff. Because yeah, I think that'd be cool to do some live demos. I did do one for a conference called Hack Live. What is it now? 2022. So I think it was Hack Live 2021. That's online. That was a live stream hack. And that one was a day long where they had different people come in to do different live stream hacks of like a challenge that they had created, which was amazing. So we had like Chris Eagle doing firmware reverse engineering. I think he was using Ghidra. Somebody had asked me earlier, like, is Ghidra better than paying money for IDA Pro? And I think, it's always better to start free if you can, if you don't have the resources like to buy something. And Ghidra, which was made by the NSA, funny enough, and released, is a great reverse engineering tool. So you had Chris Eagle. So watching him live stream was like, oh my God, because I've known him for years and he's written books on reverse engineering and I've just never seen him actually work. I was blown away. I was like a kid in a candy store. I just loved seeing his thought process. He was talking out loud of like, yeah, I'm going to load this in. I'm going to look for this and look for that. And it was like, wow. So Chris Eagle was there. I can't remember who else was there, but it was like some network security, some web app. And then I was doing the hardware. And a friend of mine who works with the conference, Tyler, did this hardware hacking CFT. And it basically was based off of Among Us, right? Which is like everybody played Among Us during COVID and or during lockdown. So it was a hardware platform. I did live hacking. I had a camera with a tripod. I was running back and forth. I only had an hour to do it, so I was going from here to my workbench to over here and trying to explain stuff and show stuff. So that was really fun. So you can check that out to kind of see hacking, live real-time hacking. I did some demos for a Black Hat webcast called Hardware Hacking Party Tricks, which I don't know if it's online. You might have to like sign up with a fake email address or something to get access to the link. I don't know if they posted it. But that one was also like demonstrating. It'd be helpful if you're looking to get into hardware hacking, like demonstrating the kind of main techniques, right? Of like how to use an oscilloscope to visually see signals, how to decode UART data. And I did kind of how to extract memory. I think I did a couple step-by-step, and then it was like fault injection and some crazy things at the end. So yeah, that's some live stream. But yeah, maybe I'll do some. I'll write that down. Maybe I'll do like some live stream stuff in the future. How would you introduce hacking to your kids? What kind of project would you recommend? So when my kids were younger, I was like, they have the mindset of a hacker for sure. And I was like, they're going to totally be into this stuff. So I, taught both of my kids how to solder when they were 3. I ended up getting electronics kits and building things, and they just, eventually discovered other things, and which is fine. I think part of it is like, I don't want to do what my dad does. But the other part of it is they're just their own people. So I think if you're exposing hacking and engineering to kids, like maybe do it through some kits. There are some, I'm thinking of like Adafruit, but I feel like there's some other kind of CFT projects, a lot of badges now. So the Badge Life community of creating these amazing, like artistic circuit board badges, but now they're kind of development boards and capture the flag contests and stuff. I think there's one called like Hardware Challenge Coin or something. So maybe it's something like that. That's puzzles, right? So you could do the puzzles together with your kids and see if they kind of gravitate towards that stuff. I destroyed a password protected SD card locked full of passwords trying to break in, fail. Yeah, depending on how badly you destroyed it, that could be a problem. You could get to the die inside of the SD card. There's a tool called the PC 3000 that's a hardware device, and they have some software also that is designed for exactly that, like recovering data from NAND flash and internal flash and monolith devices inside of SD cards. It's pricey though; it's like a couple $1,000s, but depending on how critical those passwords are, like maybe that's worth looking into and seeing if you can like have tiny little probes touching down on the memory to get the contents out. I gotta drink more. Talking's hard. It's hard work. Hey, big fan of yours since Prototype This. Watched it as a kid. Keep doing cool stuff. Thank you. Yes, like I don't feel like I've gotten any older. Like looking at the picture, I know I've gotten older, but to hear that people have watched the show as a kid and now they're like grown-ups. I've gotten a couple emails of like, yeah, I watched your show. Now I work at Apple. I work at, as an engineer at all these places. And it's like, oh my God, really cool. Well, hopefully it was inspiring. Do I listen to music? If so, who's my favorite artist? Oh yeah, that's a big question. Yes, I listen to music. I can't listen to music when I'm working. So I basically only listen to music if I'm exercising or driving or on an airplane. Other than that, I'm always like doing something else and I can't concentrate. But I grew up listening to punk rock and hardcore punk and really the underground music, and just always gravitated to that. Always gravitated towards that. It was like very aggressive, very what I feel like in line with the hacker ethic of some of the early punk, not so much, which was like break the systems through everything, whatever. But there was a lot of this positive elements of community, building community and doing things yourself and not relying on other companies or other people, as kids doing stuff without needing grownups around, which I thought was really powerful. So I gravitated mostly towards like straight edge hardcore music, which really was about kind of positive mindset, drug-free lifestyle, participating in this music scene, but not in a self-destructive way. And I was like the only straight edge kid in my peer group, like I was the only guy sober all the time when we were hanging out. Yeah, so music has always been a part of my life, and I got introduced to punk earlier than hacking, I think, or maybe it was around the same age. So it's been a part of my life. Actually, I gave a keynote at KernelCon this year. If you go, I don't know if it's online yet, but it was actually about kind of the intermixing of punk rock and hacking, because I feel like there's really that connection there. That was my attempt of like, it was a non-technical talk, but trying to show like what influenced me. So yeah, I listen to a lot of hardcore, New York hardcore, really. So Youth of Today, Sick of It All, Gorilla Biscuit, Side by Side, Alone in the Crowd. I know I'm missing a lot of them, but that's Judge, Bold. A lot of those late 80s hardcore really is like, if I want to get pumped up, I listen to that. I also like listening to newer music, and I'll discover things on, streaming platforms of like, since you liked this, you should listen to this. And I like that because there's a lot of really good new hardcore bands doing a lot of stuff. And I talked about this last time. Like I played drums in a band back in Boston badly. And like, I feel like that it's such a good outlet. So like one of these days I might get into that. And then on the other hand, it's like, oh, I'm so old. But then you see these bands that have guys that have been around in the hardcore scene for a long time. Yeah, so music is important, but definitely it's like it's aggressive and energetic, and that's what gets me. Like pop music, all that stuff. I can't relate to it, so I just can't get into it. My favorite artist. So right now, I think somebody asked me this before. So when we were in Sweden, I was there to give a talk a couple weeks ago, and a couple months ago, and I was looking through like what bands are playing in the area, and I found a band called Brothers of Metal, which was like this Swedish power metal band. And, power metal in Sweden and in Norwegian area is like huge, Scandinavian area, huge. And I heard one song and I was like, oh my God, I gotta go. So I went, had a great time at the show and bought their CDs. And I've just been like binge listening to Brothers of Metal, both albums, over and over and over. And I love it. It's like, it's like these mythical tales of battle and stuff. Like totally not what I grew up, in. I grew up in Boston. Like we didn't have mythical tales of Norse battles, but it something about it, I love it. Yeah, so it comes and goes. Like I'll listen to that and then I'll listen to other stuff, but it's all gonna be like metal, hardcore. That it's just, it is what it is. How do I see the outcome of Bitcoin in 10 years? Woo. Ecuadorian living in London. Hey, I don't know. Like I said, I think cryptocurrency is still going to be here. Maybe it's going to be like Betamax versus VHS. Like Bitcoin is going to be the one that stays. You'll have a couple other projects, and most of them are going to go away. But the nature of cryptocurrency is anybody can just pop up with some new. So there's always going to be that kind of scam, shitcoin project type of stuff going on too, which maybe is like penny stock kind of things, and hopefully people just don't get burned from that. But yeah, I think Bitcoin will still be around, and it maybe will start to be used even more and more as a official currency. Who knows? But for sure, like I said, digital currency, something, it's here to stay. Here's one about meditation also. So I recommend looking at Alan D. Thompson's YouTube channel, where he shares his experiences and experiments. Okay, awesome. Oh God, my my live chat bar just like totally jumped. Okay, I'll have to go through some of these. Oh, Bob worked with Space Rogue at Tenable. Awesome. So cool. Yeah, man, this is amazing. This is so great. Okay. What advice would you have for your younger self? I think that's deep. I was very closed. I was like a very closed person. And I think what I wish I did more was kind of open myself up more to people in my community, in the hacker community. So an example, like being in the loft, I mentioned like, yeah, I had an ego about being in the loft, and I did. And we would have loft parties and we'd socialize with people, but we had these other meetups too. We had grillathons and other things where everybody would gather. And because I'm not, like I mentioned, I'm not that social, I didn't really go and take advantage of being in these groups, even though I knew everybody, but I didn't really hang out. And I think that was, I think that my advice would be like, just do it. It's like exposure therapy. Like just go out there. Like if you're anxious about it or you don't want to socialize, like just do it. And maybe you make a new friend. Maybe you learn something new. And I think I would just tell myself, like, don't be afraid of that. Don't have an ego. Don't worry about what people think about you. Just be you and do it. Which of course is easy to say now that I'm really old. Let's see. I don't think he's reading the YouTube question. He's reading it at Reddit. Anyway, yeah. So I'm doing both. So I have my list of papers here, but I actually have barely looked at them. Most of the questions are from the chat. They're just like an hour ago that I'm looking through. But yeah, I will again. If I miss some of these, I'm going to go through words, write them all down. Maybe I'll do some non-live stream versions also, just to like answer a lot of the ones that are already there, because I know it's a lot to listen to. Let's see. What are your favorite tools? So I think I maybe talked about this in the first video. As far as my favorite hardware hacking tools, I would definitely say oscilloscope, which is here. You can't see it. It's an Agilent DSO 7054. Having some sort of way to visually identify signals and what they're doing and decode those signals, amazing. Power supply, multimeter, device programmer, so to be able to read different types of memories. Let's see, what else? My Metcal soldering station, love it. This is a Mantis compact, I think it's a compact elite stereo inspection microscope. Love that. And then my hot air rework station, this is a Weller WHA 900. I have a Hako FR something or other that's like a through-hole solder sucker. Those are it. Like those main tools, I use them all the time. And then once in a while, I'll get some debug hardware. I like using the Sager J-Link for JTAG stuff. I'll use the Tigard, which is a open source general purpose kind of interface tool that Joe Fitzpatrick made. I'll use the JTagulator. I'll use the Chip Whisperer. For a device programmer, I have a Zeltec SP501 something or other. But you could use like an XG, an XGECU, XGECU what's it called? Like a T56 or a TL866 are really good. Chinese made. So a lot of the software tool itself isn't Chinese, but they support like 10,000 of different types of memory devices. So yeah, there's a lot to sort of, there's a lot to start with, but really you start with the basic tools and you build up as you need to. What software do you suggest to disassemble an app for Android or iOS? Discover if there's been spyware. I don't know. I don't know the best tool for those platforms. You know, again, my first thought goes to Ghidra, goes to Ida Pro. A friend of mine runs a company. Oh, he's gonna kill me. Chris Wade runs the company, and they were just sued by Apple. They've been sued by Apple for emulating iOS, so researchers can find vulnerabilities and do development. I can't remember the company. Sorry, Chris. That might be a tool that you could use to look through iOS images or applications and stuff. Yeah, because you know for sure there's probably spyware on a lot of that stuff that we don't know about. Yeah. Okay. Here's a great one. Your workshops are so expensive. So tell us some resources for hardware hacking and reverse engineering. Right. When I teach classes, public classes, I don't set the pricing. I'm basically like, you know, a person like you know, you go to a band, right? You go to watch a concert and the ticket's $100, but the band makes $5 a ticket or whatever. Like it's the same thing with people running conferences. They have their overhead that they need to pay for. They need to make money. They have to buy food for all the people. They got to set up all this stuff. So yeah, I don't set the prices. I try to, when I do public conferences, have, you know, some that are black hat type for corporations. I like to do some that are community based. It depends on my schedule. It depends what's available. And then sometimes I run my own conferences. And when I do that, pricing is a little bit cheaper, but it's still, you know, it's a huge amount of work, right? So what I try to do, going back to information sharing and all of that stuff, there's nothing in my hardware hacking training classes that costs a lot of money that is not available on my website. It's going to be in a lot of different presentations, but all of that stuff is on my site, right? There's no secrets. The only thing you don't really get is 8 hours of me blabbing and helping you with something. So you have to be a little more self-taught because I don't have the online stuff. But yeah, I mean, the information, like there's no secret about how to do these things. My real goal in the in-person stuff is to be able to answer other questions and help people kind of take the tools or the process and realize apply it to other things. But the information itself is all online and will continue to be. Can you, in your own words, explain what a side channel attack is? Sure. So a side channel attack is basically, so devices or computer systems or network systems tend to leak information or leak something unintentionally that could be used against them to take advantage of a system. So in the case of electronics, a side channel attack usually is exhibited in the form of like the power consumption that a system is taking at a certain point in time. Maybe if it's doing an encryption operation, it's slightly more power. So you could monitor that power consumption during that crypto operation and figure out what bits are being processed by doing a lot of correlation and power monitoring and things like that. And you know, unless there's a mitigation in place for that, you're going to be able to do it. Another one would be a side channel attack based on the timing it takes something to happen. So say a system is doing a password compare. A lot of times with password compares, embedded systems, electronic systems, even computer systems too, are checking 1 byte at a time. And I have a video about this on my YouTube channel. I think it's just called Side Channel Timing Attack or something like that. And it's one of the examples that I teach in one of my classes. That basically a password is going to be compared 1 byte at a time and using the memcompare functions, the memcomp function of like ANSI-C. If the first byte matches, then it checks the second byte. If the second byte matches, it checks the third byte. As soon as one of the bytes doesn't match, the routine exits because that's just more efficient for computation, right? So the side channel timing attack would be if you can measure that timing difference or the time it takes for something to happen, and you can control the input in some way, you can measure the timing and figure out how close you are to guessing the correct password. So that's side channel, kind of unintentional leakage. It can happen through electromagnetic interference, RF emissions. So you could monitor that with like a hack RF or some sort of EM probe. It could happen with temperature. It could happen optically of LEDs leaking information. So one of the famous ones, I have a presentation about side channel optical covert channels as well, and optical side channels on my website. But one of the famous ones is like old Hayes modems the transmit and receive LEDs, the lights on the actual modem, were directly connected to the transmit and receive data lines of the modem. So when data was coming or going, it was literally being blinked out of the LED. And the human eye couldn't see that, but with an optical receiver, you could. So yeah, side channels, hopefully that explains it a little bit. If like unintentional leakage that we can, as hackers, take advantage of. I'm getting there. What do I think of Web3? I have no idea. I'm still trying to figure out Web 2. If you can tell by my website, which is being updated, by the way, but I don't know. It's, to me, that's like technology that maybe there's going to be benefits of it. Who knows? It's hard to tell. Do I know a lot about radio hardware? Not really. HackRF is what you want to use to get into radio types of stuff. RF, reverse engineering. Michael Osman from Great Scott Gadgets, who created that tool, just released a whole bunch of training videos. I think the videos that he actually has used in his training classes. So you can really get into like a lot of stuff there with GNU Radio and all sorts of like open source RF hacking tools now, also software and hardware. Is Raspberry Pi a good board to learn? Great board to start experimenting with, right? I mean, it's basically like a low cost Linux platform. So you could use that. I actually used it for some JTagulator demonstrations. So if you wanted to learn about JTAG, UART interfacing, I don't know if you could do like direct memory. You might be able to do some memory extraction through like the bootloader interface. Yeah, it's a good board to start with for sure. I don't have a book on it. Like the question is like, is it a good board to learn your book? I don't have any book stuff on it, but there's so many projects with Raspberry Pi, and especially because it's Linux based, you can kind of mess around with it. And if you screw it up, you just put a new SD card in, micro SD card. What's the best wallet for cryptocurrency in your opinion? I don't have an opinion on it. I'm an equal opportunity hacker. I think I don't want to give shout outs to one versus another. I think they all have positive aspects and they all have negative aspects. Depending, some are more open source than others, some are more closed, some are more forthcoming in their security issues, some of them aren't. But really, to me, it comes down to physical security. So it doesn't matter what you're using. If you have good physical security of your hardware device or even of your piece of paper, right? That's the most important thing. Keep it away from everything until you need to use it. The hardware wallet is just a vessel to store your stuff. Don't have a hot wallet, like don't store anything on an exchange, that's for sure. Don't store anything on your computer. Keeping it off site somewhere, physical access, like that's what matters. Thanks for the AMA and candid answers. You're welcome. I love doing this, and I would love to do more. As long as the questions keep coming, I'll keep doing stuff. I know it's still, again, it's like me just talking, which feels really weird. So it'd be nice to do some other stuff at the same time. How expensive is the scope behind you? Oh, that microscope? That's a good question. I bought it like 10 years ago, and it was probably like $1,500. If you go on eBay, there's Amscope, AMSCOPE, that a lot of people are using Amscopes, and they're like a stereo view. Not quite like that, because this is designed for inspection. If you go to like a contract manufacturer where they're manufacturing circuitry, you'll see that because they can move it around and you don't have to put your face totally up to it. But the Amscope ones are more of like a traditional microscope. But it's cool because they have like an addition where you can add a camera. So you can get like an $80 camera to take pictures and zoom in on stuff really well. But Amscope, I think, is like a couple $100s for things. And what's wild is when you're dealing with really tiny parts, you look at a circuit board and you're like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to solder that thing, or that I'm going to be able to even do anything. But then you put it under a microscope and it's like, oh, like it looks huge. And actually, you'll see in our next video coming out soon, subscribe, click the bell on YouTube. I actually had a camera that I bought on Amazon for $80, and it got a magnifying lens thing. So it's designed to fit into an Amscope. And I just held it with a tripod. And I was hacking in the hotel room. This was HDMI out, and the hotel had this massive TV on the wall. So I plugged my camera into the HDMI port of this wall-mounted TV, and I was doing micro soldering by looking at this giant screen. So your hands have much better resolution than you actually think, which is cool. Man, you probably know some members from Anonymous. I probably do, but they're anonymous. So how? I'm not sure. Aren't we all anonymous? Isn't that the thing? All right, I'm scrolling up. Let's see. Get another drink. Love this one. So yeah, related to talking about hardcore and punk, Youth of Today, one of my favorite bands with Ray of Today, Ray Capo. Did you get into Krishna core? So there's an offshoot of hardcore that went into like, Hare Krishna, like Krishna consciousness movement, and a lot of bands. Not really. I'm not a big organized religion fan of any kind. So even though the music was really good and some of the messages were really powerful, it wasn't really for me. I loved anything that Ray was doing, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. Anyone old enough to be a member of 2600? Yeah, 2600 magazine. If you haven't looked at it, it's still around. It's been around since '83, I think. Emmanuel Goldstein still running it. Just thinking about a thread through the hacker world, like he was there at the beginning running this magazine. And some people say, well, it's too political, this and that. Hacking, hacking has lots of aspects, and I don't necessarily get into the political aspect of it publicly. But there's, it inspires people and shows tricks and all this stuff. And it's just such a good magazine. And he's been kind of carrying along this torch of the hacker world for so long. So yeah, check out 2600. Oh geez, I'm not going to give you the URL because I don't want to give you the wrong one and have it be, I don't know if it's .com or .org, but 2600 magazine. They're awesome. Crazy Bros. Hello, I'm a big fan of you and want to start a career in hacking. What's the best way to do it? Yeah, I've talked about this in the other AMA also. It's hard for me to say because the industry has changed so much where, my perspective is like, well, just start doing it. Like start hacking, contribute to projects, build your own projects, put them on GitHub, build up kind of your own portfolio of things that you would be using anyway for your projects. And then when you go to interview at a company, you say, hey, I've been doing this stuff. I love hacking. But the career now, like, I don't know. I've never had to interview for a job related to hacking or security before. So I don't know what the kind of criteria is anymore. But I still think like passion is more important than anything, right? And what you do and your skills and you're crafting your own skills is super important. So it's like, if you believe what you're doing and you love what you're doing, like do that. And then the career will probably just fall into place as you are doing what you love. Have you ever had points in your life where you lost all interest in what you used to love, and how do you overcome that? I don't know if that question was sent before I talked about my kind of midlife crisis of things, but yeah, I mean, I think it happens to all of us. Burnout in the hacker community in the cybersecurity world is huge. And I think a lot of us gravitated towards computers in the first place because we probably had some aversion to social things or whatever. Like maybe we already had some kind of mental health, issues that dragged us this way. So burnout just kind of compounds on all of these things. We're starting to see a lot more people talk about it at conferences now. There's like mental health hackers, which is really cool. Helping people understand some of these challenges. But yeah, burnout is real, and midlife crisis is real. As I've turned out, I didn't have a huge midlife crisis, but I didn't go buy a boat. But it sort of, that happened again a couple of years ago before I started meditating and everything, and kind of trying to realize where my place was in the world. But yeah, I think it's okay to take a step back from something and try something new and like rejuvenate and refresh. And even on a day-to-day basis, we do it, right? It's just like, I try to, of like, if I'm hacking on something, or even if I'm just answering emails and I'm like, I can't take it anymore. I leave and I go do something else. I go complain to my kids or blab to my wife and whatever, like just to change the scene. And then you settle down, you do something else, you come back to it. So yeah, it definitely happens. I think overcoming it, going back again to meditation, like being able to see things in perspective, seeing able to see where your gifts are and how you can contribute, and realizing like if you don't like what you're doing, you don't have to do it. Like that pressure you're putting on yourself. And I think about that all the time. Like people expect me to do certain things. People expect me to post something on Twitter. People expect me to make a video. People expect me to do this. And it's like, maybe, but I don't let that bother me anymore because I just want to do what I do. And I love doing this stuff to happen, right? But I think the external pressure, you can, once you realize that external pressure doesn't need to directly affect you, if that makes any sense. Yeah, getting deep. Okay, let's see. There's, do I support the open hardware community? Hell yeah. That's like, man, I was doing open hardware before it had a name. Yes, open hardware I think is hugely important. Just like open software. As much as almost every, I'm trying to think, like when I'm doing consulting work around designing products for people, I couldn't release that stuff because it was not I was designing it for somebody else. And those were, commercial products. Technically, though, I guess everything is open hardware, right? It's like you get physical access to it, you can reverse engineer it. But for projects that I work on, they're open source, they're open hardware. I don't put the open hardware logo and things because maybe I don't know if I conform totally to it because I use Altium Designer as my circuit board design tool, not an open source tool. I haven't read through all of the rules of what open source hardware to be able to use the logo means. But as you can tell, I'm not really interested in following rules and conforming to things anyway. I'm going to do it how I want. And the way that I want to do it is using Altium to design the hardware because I'm comfortable using that tool. I'll release the Gerber plots, I release code, I release everything I can, because that's important, right? It's like some people want to use the hardware. Some people want to learn from the hardware and build on the hardware to do something else. So yeah, I hugely support it, 100%. And if I had a choice between choosing a closed hardware product and an open one, I tend to go towards the open ones a lot of times. And I've benefited greatly from that community, and that's why I feel so strong about giving back to that community also, and releasing things that people might be able to take a chunk of code and use it for something else. Like there's so many products, even the one I'm working on right now that's going to be a separate video, not the wallet hacking video, is based on open source hardware modules. And it really is this kind of, if everybody contributes the right way and is honest about what equipment they're using and sharing that and putting new creations back into the wild, like that's what makes it work. And that's what makes it mean like we don't have to rely on using IBM PCs anymore or relying on Apple or big companies. Like we have Raspberry Pis and all these open source mods, all of this stuff. So I mean, it is what makes the hacker world and what makes the maker world move these days, I think. Corellium. I'm just getting the comment. Yes. So talking about iOS reverse engineering, Chris Wade runs a company, Corellium, Corellium. Thank you. That is the company. So look into that maybe to do your iOS application types of stuff. How to start with hacking career and how to get into hacker forums. I have no idea about hacker forums. My last hacker forum was IRC on like the Pound Hack channel. And I think maybe Pound 2600 back in the day. IRC being like the text version of Discord without all the memes. And yeah, so I don't really know nowadays. And I almost feel like it's safer and better to just start your own hacker forum with your people that you know and trust and you can learn together with. I just don't know how trustworthy people are, what information they're giving you, if it's legitimate or not. Are they trying to coerce you into doing something illegal? You just don't know, right? I mean, the internet, you don't know who's on the internet. Emulating iOS, what's that even mean? Running QEMU? No, I think it means they have a tool that actually, I don't know what it's using on their backend, but like a virtual machine running iOS, full on iOS, and Apple sued them because they said it was a violation of all this stuff that is completely ridiculous. I think the lawsuit is still going. Okay, what are all those small boxes on your workbench? I'm curious what kind of spare parts you keep for hardware hacking. Okay, I can show that one. Let's see. So up here is kind of, I'm not going to read them all off, but this miscellaneous stuff. So mounting hardware, potentiometers, kind of big. You can't really see, like big stuff. Speakers, relays. Over here is all resistors. Oh, this is all backwards. So all resistors labeled mostly 5%, some 1% resistors. Over here is like battery holders, connectors, switches, all broken out in different types of switches, microphones, mounting hardware, crystals, header pins. And then down here, capacitors of different types. Over here, more connectors, more other just random things. So when I'm working on projects, I basically, so actually one of the questions earlier was like, did I ever go to the MIT flea market in Boston, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology flea market? Yes, I went as a kid. When we were at the loft, started selling. We had a table there, we would sell stuff. That's actually where we met Lady Ada, who ended up starting Adafruit Electronics. So early old school Boston hacker as well. Yeah, so amazing. So I would go to the flea markets, and I would also dig through dumpsters of electronics, you know, Radio Shack and universities and things, and pull out electronics. But I would go to the flea markets and kind of harvest stuff to kind of build up my collection. And then when I started doing professional engineering, anytime I needed a resistor from DigiKey or Mouser or whatever, I would order 10 because, you know, why not? So you start building stuff up that way, just like you start building up your set of hardware hacking tools. So I use those a lot for prototyping. Down here, I have an audio generator, which I don't even know why I have that, but once in a while I use that for testing audio related stuff. Or I use it sometimes as just a frequency generator. I have a frequency generator below it there. And then I have a frequency counter, which I haven't used in forever. But in case, you know, I could do it all with my oscilloscope, but in case I just have it over there, it looks cool. Down along here, I know you can't see a lot of the stuff here, and I know that's what you're asking about. So let's see. Here, I'll just grab stuff. I'm not going to grab all of it, but like I have these jumper wires. So when I'm doing prototyping on like a breadboard, I use those all the time. I just picked this up. This was like a Bondic UV curable epoxy that my cousin gave to me, and then I bought more on Amazon. This is really cool for like if you're doing tiny little bodge wires or angel hair wires, micro soldering type of stuff. You can put this, you know, a drop of that down onto the board afterwards, shine the ultraviolet light onto it, which is that going to show up on the camera? Let's see. Yeah, shine that UV light on it, and it will like immediately cure. So now you have a hard connection, so that your wires aren't going to come off. And then there's a bunch of different widths of solder. Usually lead-based because I like that better. It flows better. I have some lead-free, different types of wire. The angel hair wire I talked about, I think it's like a 0.1 millimeter wire. Some different chemicals, so like flux remover, conformal coating remover, which is what I used in the wallet hacking video. Desoldering braid of different types. Some chip quick. I'm a huge fan of chip quick. If you ever need to desolder surface mount parts, where you have multiple pins of a surface mount part, and if you try to heat them up, the one is going to cool before you can get the next one off. So it's hard to take a part off. You could use hot air, but then you're heating the whole part, and it's a little bit risky because you could heat the part too much and damage it. So chip quick is like this special alloy that mixes with the existing solder on the board, and you blob it on, and it reduces the melting point of the chip of the solder, and you can pull the part right off the board. So I have a huge pile of chip quick, alcohol pads, and then some tools, clippers and stuff like that. So really it's like kind of a basic electronics lab that I just happen to use nowadays more for reverse engineering than normal engineering. Let's see. Tried Van Eck freaking? Oh, this just changed again. Have I ever tried Van Eck freaking? So yeah, also known as tempest monitoring. This was something back at the loft when I was like 19 or 20, 21 by then. Is a type of side channel attack. So I talked about side channels, leaking information in different ways. Van Eck freaking, also known as tempest monitoring, was electromagnetic interference being emitted from CRTs. and from electronics devices that you could then pick up remotely to figure out what was going on. And the big one was, CRT monitors back in the day are huge cathode rays, and the scan line, it's high voltage scanning across the screen. You could monitor the EM emissions, the electromagnetic emissions, and recreate the data that was being printed on a screen from like far away. So yeah, I was into that. I built a tempest monitoring system, or attempted to build a tempest monitoring system of capturing the EM, trying to add a clock back into it and put it back on the screen. I could get a little bit of a view, but it was like pure analog. I think nowadays with like a hack RF and stuff, you could probably do it in an easier way. But yeah, I mean, that was like the first public information about side channel. And the paper was called Compromising Emanating Emissions or something like that by Wim Van Eck, which is why Van Eck freaking. That's a really interesting one. Yeah, check that out if you're curious. Am I into stocks and crypto? I just saw that one. So as I mentioned earlier, I don't really have a stomach for that stuff because I never know when I'm making money. Like, I don't know when I'm going to give a talk and things. So, or when I'm, if I'm selling my JTagulator for royalties, like, I don't know. 'Cause I'm independent and proudly independent, but it also means like, I don't have the benefit of taking risks of like putting money into volatile systems like that. So, I have a tiny bit, but nothing that's going to ruin me if, in the current state of things, like I'm still okay. For now. Let's see. I'm skipping some because they're kind of the same as what would have asked. What are some games or toys you recommend to promote STEAM learning for children? Someone just sent me one, but I can't remember the name of it, so I guess it wasn't that good. There's some sort of blocks. We used to play with snap circuits, which I thought were really cool because it was like discrete electronics that you could clip together and build projects. So I think there's more advanced versions of that now. I want to say Roblox, but it's not Roblox because that's a game. Some other, I can't remember, but yeah, maybe check Adafruit. Parallax maybe also has some good things. Little Bits, is that one? I think Little Bits. That's like a good engineering kind of, project. Can I give your views on Keybase? No, I can't because I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's keybase.io, but I don't know. I don't have a question. I want to say, I saw your video and realized you're a super genius, man. Keep it up. Thank you. There was actually a question that said, let me find it. Something about, no, I can't find it. It was something like, do you consider yourself a genius? And the answer is no. Like, I consider myself an engineer and a hacker that happens to like this stuff. But no, I mean, everybody has their benefits, and everybody, has weaknesses. So no, I don't. I feel like genius has this connotation of kind of being better than other people, and like, no, there's things that I maybe have better experience with than other people, but like, I have some deficiencies also. Just ask my family. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that though. Thank you. But I would have a hard time considering myself a genius. 2600 lifetime member. Can I give some examples of when reverse engineering become illegal? Not really, because I'm not a lawyer and I don't really know the laws. The DMCA is still used a lot for reverse engineering, but I don't know. It shouldn't be, but it is. And really, even if something is not illegal, a vendor can still come after you. Like, we've seen this over and over again, mostly at high profile conferences. So Black Hat, DEF CON, where somebody's about to give a talk and the company that they're about to talk about, to release a vulnerability or whatever, like slams down on them and says, we're going to sue you if you release this information. Not because they necessarily have any legal standing, but because they're a big company and they can do what they want. So that squelched a lot of public research because people have become kind of afraid of sharing their work because they don't want to get sued. And that happened to me. Well, actually, it's happened to me a couple times not to the point of preventing me from releasing, but to the point of like being threatened to be sued uh, with no legal standing. And one other time expecting to get sued, but turned out we didn't. That was with the parking meter hack that I did years ago. Gave a talk at Black Hat about where a year earlier at DEF CON, some MIT students had given a talk on hacking the MBTA public transit system in all sorts of different ways. And they released their vulnerabilities. They gave the vulnerabilities and all of their research to the transit authority. And they were like, great, thank you for all of the help. We appreciate you, hackers. And then like the next day, the FBI showed up at their dorm room and they all got arrested and they got sued. Luckily, they got off. The Electronic Frontier Foundation saved their asses to the benefit of all of us, because that would have been really dangerous precedent. So that was kind of the state of things when I did the parking meter research. Is like I didn't want to get in trouble. I had a family at that point. But along with my co-speakers, we made the intentional decision, let's give the talk first, and then we'll just obfuscate some of the critical data bits. But let's give the talk first, so in case we get sued, at least the information will be out there first. So we were fully expecting to get sued. I'd been talking to my lawyers. We had everything set to go if something had happened, because there's been other times where, a guy gets off the plane or gets off stage from a talk and gets arrested. So we were expecting something. But it turns out the city of San Francisco was like really gracious about it. And once the media found out who to talk to at the city, like I had a meeting with them and it was fine. But yeah, so, I think most reverse engineering, no reverse engineering should be illegal, period. The laws might say differently. So if you end up doing some reverse engineering that you're going to talk about publicly, nowadays it's like you want to make sure you have all your ducks lined up in a row and that your paper trail is good, and that to just show that you were doing it from a research perspective, not from a offensive, like I want to screw up your profit margin perspective or something. But yeah, it's like the law always gets in the way of a lot of things. Yeah, so a lot of these repeat questions, if I'm not answering them, that just go back earlier in the video or watch the earlier AMA as well. Corporate life must be a killer for the hacker mindset for ROI. Yeah, the thing is, like a lot of corporate, like besides working at Stake, which was a security consulting company that I helped start in 2000, like I haven't worked at an actual corporation, but I have seen that the training budgets have gotten bigger. So companies are starting to realize that their employees need to learn and continue to learn, which is awesome, right? Like continuing education is huge. And we're starting to see a lot more like security groups within companies. But yeah, when you're at corporations, which you have to, a lot of people have to, there's a lot of red tape and a lot of bureaucracy to go through, and it's hard. But security really needs to be, I think, not a separate standalone kind of pod within the organization, but it needs to be everywhere. It needs to be like the octopus, like with its tentacles in everything, every part of the company, right? Public facing, marketing, sales, legal, engineering, because all of those aspects are things that hackers can take advantage of to get information to hack a company or hack a system. So security needs to be like pervasive everywhere. And maybe it's starting to be that way. Like I do think that things have gotten better in companies, it seems like. But yeah, I've dealt with companies to do training and stuff, and a lot of paperwork and things. But it is nice to see that, especially continuing education. But it is nice to see that hackers and security people are being recognized more as a necessary kind of thing, not just as like a fun person to have in the office. Okay, I'm almost there. Question, I forgot my passwords in MetaMask. Can you help me retrieve it from my phone or computer? We get a lot of those questions as far as like helping people recover their funds, right? Like with offspec.io. And I've seen a lot of stuff about MetaMask. I've also read a lot of emails of people getting scammed somehow with MetaMask. I don't know a lot about it. I feel like the contents are probably somewhere in your browser, but I don't have a great answer for that one because I don't normally go into that. Like I'm a hardware guy with some software forensics experience. It's a sad state of things that we even need a movement such as Right to Repair. Would love to hear your opinions on it, but understand if you're reluctant to go into the politics of it. Right. So talking about, the fact of like doing research and getting sued for reverse engineering and things, we have Right to Repair. We have this movement of trying to get laws in place to force companies to let us repair our products. Anytime we have to get legislation in place is a bummer, right? It's like we shouldn't need a law for product companies to allow their customers to fix things. It used to be back in the day, right? You could go and you could fix your own car. You could find a schematic. You'd buy your Apple computer and there'd be a schematic and there'd be books about how to fix your different things and repair electronics, all your appliances. Like that stuff is far gone. And you can barely even get components for a lot of systems because you have to be an authorized distributor. Yeah, I think Right to Repair is a huge movement, very important. iFixit is heavily involved in that. There is a secure repairs organization as well, run by Roberts, who's a cybersecurity journalist, and he started this organization to get hackers to help explain from a security perspective Right to Repair, because a lot of the lobbyists, and we can never compete with these huge lobbyists that are, telling the legislators like hacking is scary, customers shouldn't be able to change their battery, all of these things, but we can try. So, hackers coming in, and one of the excuses that Apple says is like, well, it could affect security of our device if somebody is going to replace their screen. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, we should be able to replace our battery and our screen and our touchpad. If they've designed security right, none of that should matter. But it's only bypassing some of their security because they are implementing security features to tag those devices and link it to your particular device. So they're making it hard to repair and then saying that's why they can't let you repair it. The screen's glued down and all this stuff. And there are some amazing repair facilities out there, but it's not to the point where like a mainstream person or somebody who wants to, an owner of a device can fix their stuff. At a minimum, you need a lab like this just to change a battery. That's completely ridiculous. So yeah, I think Right to Repair is huge. And it's kind of like hacking, right? It's like spreading that message of like, we should be allowed to do what we want with the stuff we pay money for. So much of our world now is like a licensing model or a pay to use model, right? Like streaming services and software, but now it's hardware also. It's like, do we own the car we drive? If Tesla can like remotely control it, do I own my phone if I can't open it up and fix it? So yeah, it's really, I feel like it's a kind of apolitical issue. Like it definitely is something that I think, I don't really follow it, but I feel like most people would go to the side of consumer rights more than corporate rights, but maybe not. Maybe I'm totally wrong, right? Government seems to love corporations as people, so who knows? Can I become your pupil? You are my pupil. You're on the live stream. That's it. Are you going to work with Elon Musk on Neuralink so it doesn't get hacked in people's brains? No. It does sound interesting, but no, I don't think so. A lot of stuff. Oh, Deviant. One of my favorite people, literally my favorite people in the entire world, is now on this live stream. I love you. Thank you for coming and being here. Wow, I love it. I got goosebumps because he is in my live stream. Deviant Olaf, one of the best, coolest people in the hacking world. Locksport. Just, if you want to know somebody nice, follow him and see his stuff. That the world needs a lot more deviants. That is for sure. Yeah, cool. Did I actually catch up on all of the? I think I caught up on all of these. Oh, here's one. Okay. When getting into software offensive security, you have various markets to sell 0 days like Zerodium, but how do you earn money from hardware hacking by working remotely? Yeah, that's interesting. So from the software world of hacking, 0 days now are huge business. And if you find a vulnerability in something, you have the choice of contacting the vendor and either giving them your research, or if they have a bug bounty, maybe you'll get something, which usually never is close to the amount, the money is never close to the amount of time that you spent on the vulnerability anyway, or you could sell it to like a 0-day broker. That's totally an ethical choice of how you want to go about it. And from my perspective, it's like you're the researcher, you do what you want with it. But from a hardware perspective, we don't see that as much. Like if you find a hardware vulnerability in things, and hardware is interesting because it's a lot harder to patch, right? Like you have embedded systems, so electronic systems with a microcontroller, and you could do a flash update on your device. But if it's a physical hardware problem, like the STM32 in a Trezor or in any other billions of devices that use them, Keep Key as another example for a wallet, that's a hardware problem that can't be patched. So it has to be, spun out with a new version of silicon, and that's a huge problem. So maybe that's why there's not as much of a brokerage service or things. Like I think companies will still acknowledge if you find a problem, but it's definitely not the market set up like it is in software. And hardware has always been, I think, lagging behind with software, and sometimes not as recognized as software. Just because it's a little more obscure, and software is just like, I don't know, people just seem to like grok it, better, or it's more media accessible, media friendly than hardware. But hardware is just harder to fix, also. And a lot of hardware companies are not used to people telling them that they have problems in their products. So we're like 10 years behind, where software vendors, almost everybody has a security at whatever mailing list, and you find a problem, you can start that conversation, and they probably, hopefully, won't sue you right away. But hardware still, like, people get pretty pissed. And that's why actually, so I'll plug hardware.io again, the conference. We'll give away the class in a second. There's some really good talks this year about hardware vulnerabilities and how are those going to be patched, right? And yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I mean, finding vulnerabilities is a hard way to make money anyway, I think. Consistent money, right? Like if you're just getting started, or you're younger and you don't have expenses and a house and kids and all of that stuff, like you could do bug bounty and you could make some serious cash. But as far as like job security, would be really hard. So vulnerability hunting, bug hunting stuff, I think almost everybody that does it probably has other things going on also. I could be wrong, but I think that's like a subset of it. But one way you could make money while you're hacking hardware is work at a security consulting company that specializes in attacking hardware products. If you don't mind doing consulting work, to do it. But then you're hacking on people's products, and then at least you have a full-time job where you're getting paid whether you're successful or not. So like that kind of is the best of both worlds. Oh, okay. It looks like I did skip a bunch of stuff. Let's see. Started learning Python. Oh, yeah. It's been interesting. Thanks for the inspiration. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, starting with a language like that, a lot of people ask me like, what software should I start with? And it depends. Like I use assembly language in C because I'm lower level, but like Python is a great way to get started. And I've mentioned that before, because you can mess around with stuff and it's abstracted. And some people would say, well, it's a script. It's not a language. It's a scripting language. But there's so much support for it. Like that's the way to start, right? You can do that stuff. If you mess up, your code's going to crash, but it's not the end of the world. You can recompile. Oh, Insurgent. Hey, want to let you know those parallax fluorescent tubes I bought from you 10 years ago still haven't been used. Did I put those on eBay or something? I can't remember. That's really funny. I want to choose a career path. Hacking is interesting, but I feel like it's more about breaking things than creating things, an idea which I really like. What do you think? I think traditionally people think of hacking as breaking things, but hacking definitely has a creative element to it also. I mean, if we talk about, the kind of typical, like Thomas Edison was a hacker, Ben Franklin was a hacker, trying things that are outside of the norm of what people were doing at the time is hacking. In the sense of the word, people might say, no, that's not really hacking. But I think hacking can have a creative element, just like it can have the offensive element. I think it just depends on how you use those skills. And I feel like if you have the skills to hack, but you also have the skills to create, like we talked about at the beginning, that's the best of both worlds, because you can relate better to both sides, right? So you can get into hacking and help engineers create better products, or you can be an engineer and help analyze products or whatever it is. So like there's benefits to this stuff. How do you deal with getting stuck on progressing, getting into a device you're hacking? Yeah, like I talked about before, perseverance, trying over and over again. Sometimes it's sometimes things are hard and you have to walk away. Like there's been plenty of times where I'm just like, forget it and leave. I find it hard to give up completely. So it's always in the back of my head of like, what I can do, what can I do, what can I do? But I think it's like talking to friends, bouncing ideas off of other people just to get a different perspective might be helpful. Looking at presentations, like watching some presentations online to get re-inspired and be like, oh, maybe I should try that technique and see if it works. Cool. Okay. We are coming up on 2.5 hours. Wow. We did an hour and a half last time. So is it going to be like progressively more and more? Quick thoughts on Bitcoin. I gave some thoughts about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin earlier. I think it's here to stay. I think it's, some digital currency will stay, but I don't know. Okay, and so I'm going to do one more other question too of like, what are steps someone could take to enhance their privacy and security? Because that's a question a lot of people ask. The things that come to mind are like ad blockers, AdBlock Plus. I use uBlock Origin. I use Ghostery as plugins, extensions for Chrome. Little Snitch, if you have a Mac, to monitor outgoing connections and incoming connections. There might be something on the PC as well. Using Tor to avoid being, tracked and all data harvested and stuff. And VPNs. Rise Up VPN is one designed for activists and people, in areas that need to communicate outside of where they're being restricted. Yeah, so I think that's the way. Okay, so I still have so many questions, but let's see. How are you feeling? Should we do this giveaway? Is that why we're all still here? How to get Rise Up invitation? I think Rise Up is free. If you go to riseup.net, I think their VPN service is free, from what I understand. Because I have it, and I don't think I ever signed up for anything. As far as email and things, there might be other like web hosting you might have to sign up for. I don't know how to do an invitation for that, but I think their VPN is free. Let's see. Okay. Why don't we do the giveaway so then we can go and either like have lunch or go to sleep or do something else on a Saturday. But this is super cool. I appreciate everybody again coming here, and we're definitely gonna do another one. So we're gonna do an AMA number 3 after this next video comes out, which will be in the next couple weeks or months. It's gonna be a badass video, epic. I can't wait to see it. It's just, the footage was like so good. I'm really proud of it. I think it's gonna be better than our first wallet hacking video. The one challenge is now people have come to expect like quality videos, where normally it's like, me with my phone making bad quality videos, which in reality, like if I have something to share that is not production studio worthy, like I'll still do that. But now that, we have such a great relationship with some camera people and, with my partners in this company and stuff, making cool videos like is very exciting. Sneak peek of the project. No, I can't show you that. Actually, a sneak peek of it, if you go on Twitter, at Joe Grand, that picture of the hotel room that I posted a couple days ago, that is the sneak peek. So that was a legitimate hardware hacking lab. I took all my stuff from here, set it up in the hotel because I had to go up to Seattle to do this, and we did some hardware hacking, and it was along with a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, just really, really awesome. So stay tuned. I appreciate that you guys all like these videos. So thank you for watching them. I do want to make more of them. It definitely is a balance of like, how do we make more, but still work on stuff at the same time. David landed here looking for ways to hack a mouse dongle. That's awesome. Which some of those are probably generic RF related. I know there's some Microsoft mouse dongle vulnerabilities where you could like inject mouse movements and stuff like that. Have subscribed. Yeah, thank you for hopping in. Thanks. I love your simpleness amidst all that intelligence. I try. Yeah, this is very cool. Everybody from all over the world. Thank you. Okay. So why don't we give away this seat in class, which is really awesome. That means I get to meet one of you in person. So here's the deal. This is for hardware.io. It's in Santa Clara from June 6th to 8th. Double check that. So the winner will get access to my training class, but it does not include access to the remainder of the conference. So basically, like the first 3 days of the week are training, and it's the same week as RSA if you happen to be there for RSA. The training is the first 3 days, and then there's 2 days of conference. So if you want to do the conference, you have to pay for that separately. There is a 10% discount code, regardless of if you win or not. That I did tweet. I'm not going to read the URL because it's too long, but I did tweet it a couple days ago. And there's a discount code. It's like HW-Joe. So you can get a discount. Again, I don't set the prices for this stuff. I just show up because it's hard to run a conference. So I appreciate other people doing it. So I can just show up and talk and not have to worry about anything. But I do understand that, the stuff is expensive, and, again, information wants to be free. So go to my website. What else? So yeah, this is like $2,800 value, I think, or something like that. It's kind of cool. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be a little bit kind of, I don't know. So are there any requirements? No. So there's no requirements. You don't need any background knowledge or anything. I'm going to provide rental laptops that have all of the software on them and everything. And this is, if you go to look at hardware.io, it's my standard 2-day training with some additional stuff. But again, if you're wondering, and if you don't make it, you don't win. Again, all the information's on my website. You just got to find it, and on YouTube and various presentations I've given. Like, it's all there. And again, if you have more questions, then we'll do this again. And email me if you do have questions through Grand Idea Studio or offspec.io. Another thing too is I might set up a Discord channel, and what I don't want to do is set up another way where I have to constantly answer people's questions, because then I'm not going to be able to get any work done, and it's like really stressful. But to have a community place where people can talk, we can announce when things are happening. It's easier to do giveaways and stuff. So I might do Discord if people are into that. So like, give me a thumbs up or something if you're into that. My kids will help us get set up for that, because I think that might be nice to have something other than YouTube and Twitter. Who knows if Twitter is going to last. I don't know. Okay, so I think what we'll do is, if you want to participate in the giveaway, if you can just type like hack in all uppercase in the chat, and then I'll just copy your name from the chat into my spreadsheet, and then I'll generate a random number based on how many people do it. Is that totally crazy? Like, I'm hoping we don't get too many, but I think this will be doable. I mean, there's only 90 people here, so at a maximum, it's going to be 90. Oh boy. And of course, you're going to have to fly there. You pay your own way and all of that stuff. Like, you basically just get into the class. Everything else is on your own. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be really awesome. And it's one of the first public trainings I've done in a couple years because of COVID. I've done some private trainings, like on site for customers and things. And those, they had their spacing kind of limits and things like that, but haven't done it in person for a while. So it's going to be cool. Oh, PyPony says about Tor. Yeah, not anonymous, right? But can't be traceable. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if there's too many nodes that are not actually legitimate nodes or something, maybe Tor isn't as good as I think it is anymore. I do like it though. Like, if I'm searching for like a medical, question or something that I don't want Google sending me advertisements about, I think Tor still is totally fine. There's so many. This is cool. All right, stand by while I copy these. This is gonna work. This is really cool. Yeah, I think it'll be fun. Like, again, I don't have the opportunity a lot of times to give away classes, right? That's why this is so cool. And I really wouldn't even have thought of this if somebody hadn't have posted that in the chat last time. But I will keep in mind, like, what other stuff can I give away, right? Like maybe we do this more often of like, I go through my lab and see if there's something that somebody could benefit from, or I hesitate to say sponsorships because I don't want to promote other people's stuff unless I actually use the tool anyway. But maybe I could convince Colin O'Flynn to like give us a chip whisperer. I could probably do that. Or like Thomas Roth, something like Joe Fitz, get a tiger. Like there's probably some things we could do on future chats. That would be fun. Awesome. Wow, there's a lot of, yeah, this is totally short notice too, right? Like this is only a couple weeks away. I got to actually prepare for the class too. I haven't done that quite yet. All right, I'm almost there. This is funny. I love it. We have 19 so far. 20. Deviant says, yeah, this will definitely scale well. This is like, you can tell I don't do live streams and stuff very often. I think on Discord, that's the other reason. Like, I think on Discord, you could just set something up of like, you know, click the icon to be added to the thing. But whatever works. Hacking in the truest sense. As long as you guys don't mind waiting as I'm copying and pasting, this seems to work. Joe Grand method. Hack the planet. That counts. Oh, they keep coming. Pie Pony. Everyone is typing hack who wants to get in on the raffle for the free entry into my hardware hacking training class at hardware.io coming up soon. But you have to type hack so I know that I can copy your name into the into my spreadsheet. This is really funny because if anybody watches the video later and like maybe reads the transcript and doesn't watch the video, they're going to be like, what? What is going on? Hacking everywhere. Fingers crossed for everyone who is trying. Joe is the best, and you're super lucky if you can get into this class. Thank you, Deviant. I appreciate it. That reminds me, I do need to talk to you about some physical security. Not fit to travel. It's a grand opportunity. Yeah, maybe next time. I'm almost done. Promise. This is high quality live stream right here. Come watch I should have a camera on my keyboard. Copy paste. Copy pasta. I want glitch hacking. Yeah, I think on the third day, I haven't decided what to do on the bonus day because normally I just do the 2-day class publicly. The bonus day, I might bring some Chip Whisperer lights and do some fault injection to defeat code protection of, I can't remember what chip it is, but a microcontroller, right? So you can extract code out of a chip that's locked. That would be fun. Suman, yeah, how can I learn about hacking? Check my AMA, this one and the last one. Online courses, I would say Joe Fitzpatrick, do his hardware hacking, online hardware hacking stuff. I'm almost there. Let's see, I wonder if anybody's putting in more. Anybody trying to stack the field here? I'm not going to do a unique thing. Actually, now that I say that, maybe I should. Do you think it was helpful that you, in a sense, grew up with technology and got to learn about it as advanced as it is today? And maybe compare it with learning nowadays. Yeah, so growing up, technology was much, you guys are doing it again. I see you, Pie Pony. Technology was much less pervasive back then. So it was a little simpler to get into, but at the same time, the resources weren't as common to get. Like you had to go to the library or you buy a book or you find a magazine. You couldn't just Google things. So even though now technology is more complicated, there are more resources to get into things. And even though technology is more abstracted, a lot of times you have to dig deeper to get where you need to go. There's benefits, right? Like I loved growing up in that era. But there are definitely tools and things nowadays that make things a lot easier and let you learn more faster. So yeah, there's both. You can definitely, there's still plenty of stuff to hack on for sure nowadays. All right, they keep coming. Well, eventually I'm at 34, so eventually we're going to run out of people in the chat. So then we'll know that we have exhausted all possibilities of people. Bob, congrats on having your baby, old school. It is quite a project. good engineering project. Actually, there's a book I just thought of. So when my first son was born, I bought a book. I think it's called like the Baby Maintenance Handbook or something, because I'm used to reading data books and technical documentation and stuff. Regular books put me to sleep. So this book is basically like a car maintenance guide of how to maintain your baby. So it's like a data book with diagrams. And I literally carried that around in my bag and in my pocket of my cargo pants anytime I was out with the baby. Because it's like, oh, how do you change a diaper? Because I'd never changed a diaper. You flip to it and you follow the directions. Or like, what does that sound mean? What does that, color mean? And you can look it up. So yeah, check out that book if you haven't already. It's very funny. Discord would be great. Okay, so maybe we'll do that. Yeah. What is your favorite physical hack ever done? I'm a fan of the old Captain Crunch whistle. Love the old phone freak stuff. I'm reading it right now. Speaking of reading regular books, Exploding the Phone is a book I'm reading now about the old phone freak, 60s and 70s phone hacking stuff. Because I got into phone hacking, red boxes and blue boxes and Alliance teleconference conference calls and all that stuff later. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite physical hacks was like riding my bike into downtown Boston to an alleyway where there was like apartments on both sides, and you could use a hex wrench to unscrew one of the phone boxes, and it would be all of the phone lines for the entire apartment. So you could clip on with a lineman handset, which I don't have it here. I have the helmet though. Look at this. Here, I'll show you that. Totally a deviation from what we're doing, but I have my New England telephone lineman hat, and then I'd have my lineman handset, and I would attach to the phone line, start up the teleconference. So now the teleconference is being charged to whoever's phone I just connected to, and then I would go ride my bike home, transfer connection to someone else, and then ride my bike home. So that was a fun physical hack. Lock picking, of course, is a great physical hack. Any sort of physical access to things, which I don't do a huge amount of that, except getting access to circuitry. But yeah, this was like a great way for doing, social engineering types of stuff. Which also, if you want to learn about like elevator hacking and social engineering and all of that, Deviant Ollam and Will C also doing elevator stuff. Okay, any recommendations on assembly language books? The books I use are actually from like the 70s. They're over there. I don't want to go grab them right now. They're on a bookshelf. But there's like a series of assembly language books for different architectures that, of course, not ARM because it wasn't around, but some of the other ones. Aziria is a person that you should find. She does a lot of really amazing ARM exploitation stuff. And she has a bunch of like posters about showing different opcodes and what they mean about ARM and stuff. So for modern stuff, maybe check her stuff out to help too. Okay, let me see where I am on copying things here. Almost. That would be unethical. Yeah, sure would be. There's a lot of unethical things happening in the teenage days. I'm willing to teach people how to hack on your Discord. Soup to nuts. Awesome. Yeah, that's old school 978. So are you? I'm assuming, are you in Western Mass? Is my guess. But yeah, I mean, it could be a little spot. Like I don't know how active it would be, but I think just to have another option, like I think it's really the way to go. I have not read Cryptonomicon. Sort-U for uniqueness. Thank you. I do not do web pen testing. I don't actually do any pen testing anymore. I kind of stopped. And when I was, it was hardware-based pen testing, but it just takes so much time that I just haven't done it. I've just been focusing more on the trainings and the wallet stuff and just fun projects to kind of keep me interested instead of, like we talked about before, getting like totally burned out. All right, let's see. He has to go to the bathroom. No worries. We'll be here when you come back from the bathroom, I think. Okay, we're getting there. Oh, I do freelance Discord work for setting up servers. Yeah, if you don't mind, Ohana, if you don't mind contacting me, send a message to contact@grandideastudio.com. That might be helpful because my son is helping me set it up. But it would be nice to have some professional, opinions. Been a fan since times of the Loft. Yeah. Watching this is like watching Cliff Stoll. Thank you. Okay. Aziria. So Azeria. And I don't know. I think her Twitter is like 0x Fox, Deviant, you might know that, 0x Fox or something like that. Okay. What are my thoughts on piracy? Oh, that's a deep one. I think people deserve to get paid for their work. Is probably the easiest way to describe it. If you want to pirate prototype this, 100% sanctioned by Joe Grand. I don't know, they probably, Discovery Channel probably won't like that, but I want people to see the video. So yeah, but I think piracy, if you have to pirate something to try something, I think it's, to be able to pay creators for their work is necessary to keep things going. Speaking as a former pirate, right? When I was a kid, I couldn't afford this stuff, but now I actually, a lot of the, like with the engineering tools like Altium, I used to pirate that and they know that. And now I use their tool professionally. So sometimes piracy has a benefit because you get sucked into the ecosystem of that. But yeah, I mean, people need to make money. People need to get paid. Software movie or whatever. New England engineer, right on. Okay. So I think I've got everybody, 35 entries. Is there anybody else who has not typed hack that wants to be in on this training class giveaway to sit in with? If you thought 2 hours and 45 minutes of me talking was a lot, you get 3 days of it with some hardware hacking thrown in as well. So if you are interested, yes, type hack. I will give you another, I don't know what, 15 seconds. Can you repeat the email? Here, I'll actually type it. I can type it in the chat. So this email is one that is sure to get lots of spam because I put it in like my YouTube posts and stuff. Let me make sure it's right. contact@grandideastudio.com. That is it. Okay. We idolize you as a role model. Thank you. Who is your role model? Ooh. There's a lot of people. I don't really have a particular one. Somebody that's really, talking about meditation again, like it's a person, I don't even know who they are really, other than their stuff online, but it's a guy named David G. And he does a bunch of yoga, or sorry, meditation things on Insight Timer and live streams and stuff. And like, not technical related at all, but it helps me in a lot of other ways of kind of understanding just my life as a whole, right? And like, so he's somebody that I look up to. I look up to a lot of people. Still, the guys in the loft. Just yeah, I get inspiration from lots of people. Neil Peart, the drummer of Rush. Somebody actually asked me last time who my favorite drummer was. He's one of them. But he always had a really interesting perspective on the world, and a lot of that's rubbed off on me. And yeah, pretty much anybody that kind of carries themselves in a dignified way, I kind of like that. This is gonna sound like a weird one, but if you've seen Money Heist on Netflix, the Spanish show that they had that came over here, La Casa de Papel was the original name. I can't remember his name now, but one of the characters in there, the brother, not the main character. Sorry, did I just spoil it? The brother, kind of completely psychotic, but the way he handled himself, it just seemed very dignified, until he like stabbed somebody. But just that behavior, I really like that, and not the overreactions and things, like just very. So I kind of take cues from lots of different people. Okay, more people. All right, good. So a couple more. This is so fun. I joked to my son earlier. I was like, I'm gonna do an 8-hour live stream. He's like, no way. I'm like, just kidding. But now it actually is. So Amal, I know you said you like to take the training. Do you want me to enter you in? Is that right? If so, type hack. Are you guys typing again? This totally didn't work, did it? You guys are hacking me. Yeah, Curious Taco. All right. We're almost there. Okay. Oh, Ralph Baer. Oh, look at that. Keely. Is that actually Keely, my wife, or is that Ben? Yeah, so Ralph Baer is one. So he was a everyone say hi to my wife or my kids or somebody. Yeah, talking about mentors and stuff. Ralph Baer was an amazing engineer. who is credited of like the grandfather of video games. So he created Pong, and had a history of creating like the Simon memory game and all these toys and stuff that a lot of us grew up on. And he was like the engineer's engineer, super smart, but really had a passion for engineering and loved building things and loved taking something from his mind and creating something, which is how I am. And I ended up having a benefit of being able to work with him on a project a couple years ago before he passed away. And we built this optical dance pad that basically was like a contactless version of like a DDR dance pad. And just to see his history and how he could raise a family and still be an engineer and stick to his beliefs while he's dealing with these large companies for licensing. And he had a great history. You know, he was in World War II. He missed the invasion of Normandy because he got the flu or pneumonia or something. Like he, you know, that probably saved his life. But a great story, great history, and he became a friend. So he was a mentor, and you know, he was like 85 years old when I first met him or something. And he was still engineering. And then when I had kids, he was, you know, talking about that. So yeah, really great guy. Check out his work, Ralph Baer, Baer. And very, very low key and kind of under recognized and underappreciated because other people at the time, like Nolan Bushnell from Atari, you know, much better in the public eye. And Ralph never wanted that publicity. So he kind of got forgotten, but he was very, very influential. Okay, where am I? Let's see. Good luck. Remove me. I can not make the dates. Okay, I will remove you. Sorry about that. Bummer. What time do I sleep? I usually go to bed at like 9 p.m. I can't stay up late anymore. I used to, but actually in the video coming out was a late night, but I'm still feeling the effects of it. Like, yeah, I go to bed. I feel like sleep's important because then you can hack better, get a better mindset when you can like process things and you don't have that weird lack of sleep, you know, like buzz in your head. Oh, now proud owner of a genuine Salier. Yeah, that's a good one. Like Salier, they have all these counterfeit devices, but really the beauty is in the software, and their hardware too. But yeah, supporting them is great. They're, you know, small brother-run company. I can't believe you're still live. I can't believe I'm still live either. Trust me, I'm starving. Okay, as soon as I get to the bottom of these, I am going to do the contest. I promise. What's up, Snoop? Okay. It just popped in. I'm surprised to see this. I cannot. Yeah, next time we should like order pizza, right? Have like a pizza party while we're doing some live hacking something. I mean, there's so many opportunities. Gobbles, thank you for coming. So many opportunities to do cool stuff with like a cool community. Like it really is. It's really fun. And this is much less awkward socializing wise than like having to be with like hundreds or thousands of people, I think. Late to the party, hack the planet. Hack the planet. Besides IoT devices, what do you think the most vulnerable technology is in the average person's home? IoT devices, for sure. Hi, amazing wife of amazing kids. Thank you. Yeah, I do have an amazing wife, and sometimes I wonder why. It's kind of like why the loft accepted me. Like sometimes I wonder why she accepted me. So thank you. Let's see. There's no site called Exploit. Okay, so the website I was talking about before is Exploiteers. I think that's right. So exploitee.rs. Up at 5 a.m. No, I wake up usually at like 7 a.m. If I can't make the dates, can I give the ticket away to a friend or someone deserving? It will not be sold. Yes, for sure. Yeah, if you can't make it. No, the training is not online. So the training is in person at hardware.io. Hardware.io. And I know they might be live streaming their talks, but they're not live streaming their trainings. Yeah, sorry about that. Maybe one of these days, but I don't think I'll do a formal training class online. If anything, it's going to be these live stream, YouTube live or whatever with Discord, fancy camera setup, whatever it is. I think that's it. Is that it? Sorry, remove me as well because I have final exams. Yeah, final exams are important. Then after that, you can hack. Okay, now I'm removing people. Okay, so it's like the attrition of the list. That just means everybody else's chances are going up. Okay, I'm doing it. So we have 43. No, 40. 40, wait, 1 to 42. We have 42. So I'm going to type jot-r1 to give me one random number between 1 and 42. Oh no, you guys are all leaving. Okay, I'll remove you two, and then I'm gonna run it anyway, and then I'll just keep running it. Legit hats, gotta go. Okay, Dimitri, oh man, this is so sad. I know it is short notice, and it is if you're not in the US and if you're not in California, like it's kind of far. Yeah, it's in the US. It's in California, Santa Clara. Oh my God. Okay, I'm not removing anybody else. If you win, we'll have to deal with it. We'll see. Okay, so 38. So a random number between 1 and 38. Here we go. Watch my computer crash and like the live stream end or something. Yeah, it's that. It's like waiting symbol. Okay, the number is 26. So let's look. Number 26 in the spreadsheet is Zach. Zach, are you here? Must be here to win raffle. What is it? Must be alive to participate or whatever it is. Zach, are you still here? Because if you're not here, how do we know how to get in touch? I didn't actually think about this contingency of like, what if he's not on the live stream? I loved watching your treasure hack. Thank you. I appreciate it. And if you weren't here before, stay tuned for the next video coming out very soon. Well, a couple weeks or month or so, I think. Zach. Yeah. Thanks for pinging him. Is he coming? Cough if you're with us. So let's see, what else can I say in the meantime? Yeah, stay tuned. The number of questions keeps getting bigger, so we'll keep answering questions. And for those of you who have listened to this one and the last one, and I still haven't answered your questions, sorry. I'm trying to do them in some sort of order, but the questions in the chat were just so good today. Give them 60 seconds and then pick someone else. Okay, good idea. All right, Zach, you have until 2:58 on my live stream timer, and then I'm re-rolling the D38. Yeah, good way to do it. Right, what did I say? It's like there's a oh yeah, must be present to win. That's what it is. Yeah, it's like you got to be here. So we'll wait. What's happening? We are giving away a seat in my next hardware hacking class coming up at hardware.io in California on June 6th, 7th, 8th. So you get free entry, which I've never done before, as you can probably tell by how we're doing this raffle. Never done it before, but the conference was willing to give out a seat. And of course, I'm willing to let somebody come. So it's going to be cool. Yeah, so Mad Dev, if you want in, type hack right now, because in 15 seconds, I'm doing the next drawing. And I'll just replace your name in Zach's spot. Roll them bones. A great, okay, Mad Dev is in. Roll the Bones, great Rush album, by the way. Okay, here we go. Rolling again, the D38. That can't be. It's 26 again. How is that? Let's run it again. Yeah, it's actually doing random numbers between 1 and 38. 26. So Zach out, Mad Dev XD in. The last minute entry made it in. That is hilarious. What are the odds? In the best odds, 1 in 38, depending on how the random number generator is used. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Hey, Mad Dev XD, are you actually able to come to the event? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, that's hilarious. Great way to. Did you just join the live stream too? Did you just like pop in at the last second, or were you here? Now all the numbers drop off. Everyone's leaving. They're like, forget it. Yes, he really won. I swear to God. if I could share my screen, I'll show you. Maybe here, you know what I'll do? I'm going to take a screenshot of it, and I'll take a little screen capture where it shows that I ran it twice and it says 26 and 26. That's really hilarious. Maybe predictable number generator. I thought, no, it's not online. It's in California, first in person in a long time. Are you, Edward? I believe you. Is that still? Are you not able to do it? Should we give it away again? Oh my God, this is so funny. I'll drink more caffeine while we're waiting. Yeah, so if you can come in person, then you got it. If you can't come in person, let me know, and we'll give it to somebody else. Oh, you're from Egypt. Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming from Egypt. That's going to be a problem to go to the event this time. So I will have to erase you from the list. But maybe I can, you know what? Let's save your name. So next time I do an AMA, let's see if I can find some other thing that I can like mail you in Egypt or something. How's that sound? That'd be pretty cool. Since you're here and you won. Make them fly the winner out. That would be awesome. Yeah, if they actually did that. I've never been to Egypt. If I end up going out there for something, yeah. I'm from Israel. Awesome, cool. Yeah. So so stay tuned for next time, Mad Dev, and we'll find something to hook you up with. All right. Now this becomes a D7. Okay. Changing it to 1 to 37. Here we go. Number 14. At least it's a different number. Denelson Lopes is good idea, Deviant. Right. Recommend you pull 3 names in order. Have those 3 winners get in touch. Okay. That's probably a better way to do it, isn't it? Instead of like sitting here for an hour trying to figure it out. All right. Let's do that. Let's do 2 more rolls. So we have Denelson, number 1. Second one, runner up, number 2. That is Ryan Mills. Dave, I'm so glad you're here. That's like you're like the brain I'd never had. Like you're the voice of reason. That makes so much sense. I'll send lock picks to the art limits. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks. So Deviant, hey, Teaspoon, thanks for coming. Got to mow the lawn. See you next time. Yeah, Deviant says he's going to send lockpick kits. So that's awesome. Everybody, so all 3 of you then. So let's see. Maybe how about Mad Dev also? Should we do that, Deviant? Send him some lockpicks so he doesn't have to wait until the next live stream. So we'll do. Yeah. So we'll have Denelson number 1, Ryan Mills number 2. Okay, here we go. Thank you, Starbuck. Hello from Germany. That's awesome. Stay tuned for the next video. Okay, so Ryan or Denelson, I'm going to do one more. Number 16, HQ Cart. Where's everybody going? HQ Cart. Okay. Yo, I will literally just show up outside the event. Let's see. So Mad Dev, and yeah, I don't Dave. I mean, nobody's. What if they never contact me? I think it should just be somebody who's actually here. So if your name has been picked at all, send me email. If your name has been picked at all, send me email so we can get your addresses. Deviant will send you, if you didn't win, Deviant will send you the lockpicks. And HQ Cart is here. Hey, so you won the class. Are you able to go to the training class? As we wait in silence, HQ Cart. Oh, this is so funny. You can tell I've definitely not thought this all the way through. Didn't know it was short notice, unable to make it on my W. Okay. Oh man, bummer. Okay. I'm like running out of I'm not keeping track of the names. I'll have to go through the log again. So HQ cart, Deviant could probably send you some lock picks. Okay, we're eventually going to get to somebody that can actually do this, right? So let's just do it again. Now we're down to 36. Number 14 again. Yeah, that's Danielson again. Okay. This is why we have alternates. When is the event? It's June 6th, 7th, 8th. If you go to hardware.io, this is really funny. Number 12, please be here. Overdrive. I thought I saw Overdrive. Overdrive is still here. I know it. Let's see. Overdrive, are you coming to California for this class? Let's see. This is so fun. Mac PRNG. It really is. Like, that random number generator is not that good. Do we have any other questions while we're waiting for Overdrive? Are you coming? Do you want to come? I'm looking through my notes to see if there's no, it was in Cali. You guys are killing me. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is so funny. You guys are killing me. The list of winners who can't come, just get probably do online form. I'm doing it. I'm doing it over and over again until somebody can come. Will I ever do online classes? I don't think so. Like I mentioned before, I think it's not really conducive to the way that I teach. My online presentations and stuff will continue to be there, but I'm not sure the classes will work. Give a lockpick to every viewer. Oh, this is so funny. Yeah, no worries. I know I wasn't clear, I guess. In person in California. Okay, let's do it again because there's still people here. I'll do this all day until I fall over from hunger. Number 3, are you interested in drone technology and anti-drone? I'm curious about anti-drone stuff because sometimes people are controlling drones that shouldn't be controlling drones, or they're invading privacy or something. I can also not come. Okay, here's what, this is number 3, Axel. Axel, are you here? I'm gonna do 3 in a row, and then we'll see what happens. Number 17, Kevin. This will be the next 3. 22, DK something. Oh, you're here. Yes. Can you make it to the class is the question. What restrictions are in place for foreigners to enter US and California? I think for the US, I'm actually not sure, but when I came back into the US, last time I traveled, which was a couple weeks ago, you still had to have a negative COVID test. Yeah, so Kevin, you got picked, but only if Axel cannot come. Axel, can you come to California and do the class? Spark gap generator, bring down a drone. I know you can come. Awesome. Okay, we have a winner. Finally. Okay, how long did that take? Like 45 minutes? Okay, so Axel, send me your information. Like just email me, contact@grandideastudio.com. Everybody else who I picked, also send me your contact information. So Deviant's going to send you some lock picks. And if he runs out of sending lock picks, we'll find other stuff to send you. And yeah, if you have suggestions of an easier way to do giveaways for future live streams, maybe it is Discord, send me an email as well. We're just figuring this stuff out, right? This is how you learn. This is hacking. I love it. This is cool. Yes, thank you. This is really cool, right? Most exciting YouTube giveaway ever. Way better than Elon telling me if I send him one Bitcoin, he'll send me back 2. Yeah, totally. Awesome. Okay, well, I guess that is it. I appreciate all of you for coming and talking. And this is just a great, it's a great, fun community, really cool. Again, I have a lot of questions, so I'll figure out how to answer more questions. If you have more questions, email me. Stay tuned for that video. It's going to be freaking awesome. Tell all your friends. I want to hopefully get as many views as we possibly can on it, because the story is just tremendous. And yeah, I can't wait. So yeah, we'll see that. We'll see you at AMA number 3. I'm going to put my email address in here one more time. The chat will be saved as well as the video. So if you want to refer back to see the email addresses and things like that. How much is the event? So the event is not full, Andrew. There's still registration. And there's other training classes going on there too at hardware.io. So there's all sorts of other like chip level stuff and other types of hardware related hardware hacking. And then the class or the speakers that they have lined up are pretty awesome too. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. If you happen to be there for the RSA conference, definitely go to hardware.io as well. And then of course I'll be at Black Hat. I don't have any other public stuff coming up, but yeah, I mean this is great. We're definitely gonna do another one of these. Thank you again, everybody from all over the world. And one more question. What is the worst thing about hacking from your point of view? I think the worst thing about hacking is the perception of hacking. Of people think it's malicious, and sometimes it is malicious. But I think the perception really, like hacking is like a tool. You can use it for good, you can use it for evil. We're using it for good. Everybody here is using it for good, right? We're learning from it. It's like it's driven my life, and I know it's driven a lot of your lives. And so it is what we make of it. And for me, hacking is the way of life. So with that said, thank you very much. I appreciate all of you, and see you next time. Joe Grand out.